Hey guys, what's up? We're back with some more reactions after dark. We are, of course, going to be watching the Itaewon. I'm not sure how you would say that. Halloween Tragedy by Rotten Mango. Now, if you haven't seen me talk about this in the previous videos, well, technically just the last video, it seems like there might be some footage. I'm assuming this is in Korea, right? Or maybe it's not, but I'm assuming anything that uses the Korean broadcast station, KBS, I don't know what the acronym is probably going to get hit and blocked in Japan for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just probably either just bad blood between Korea and Japan or whatnot, but I would assume anything that broadcasts on the main Korean station, it's not allowed to be watched in Japan for whatever reason. So hopefully we don't have any footage from KBS this time around, but if we do, oh well, I mean, there's nothing I can really do about that. Also, I was reminded by I don't know how to say the beginning part of the name, which is why I haven't been saying it. I've just been saying what, Galaxy 4541, right? But Lavely Galaxy, it sounds like it's like almost like lovely. I don't know if that's like intentional, but so this is Lavely Galaxy 4541. Mentioned Nexpo. The thing is, like weirdly, earlier that day, or like many hours before that I got that message, I had uh, seen Nexpo on like the recommended section of my YouTube, but I was like, wait a minute, I forgot about this guy too, because in a previous video I was talking about blaming on Jorge and forgetting about him, and like he's like part of like the big three that he used to watch, but then Nexpo also, so there's a big four that he used to watch, and I completely forgot about Nexpo, like completely forgot about him. I haven't watched him in like a year. Haven't directly watched his channel in years. I watched someone react to him like a year ago. But then before that, I had been watching the videos myself. But I haven't seen his stuff for about a year, so there's not actually much stuff he has left to watch because there hasn't been that much uploaded. But like, we'll see if I start watching his stuff or I start stacking. I keep mentioning stacking reactions after dark, so I don't know if I'm going to start doing 2 a day or what. Just because like I feel like I need more and more content. Like 4 videos a day is not enough, in my opinion. So we might need to add a fifth video. Obviously, only 2 videos of reaction after dark because we still have the Daily Win, the Duolingo, the Ring Fit. Those are the other 3, but 2 videos of reactions after dark might be doable. But though, of course, Rotten Mango's videos are extremely long, and I'm only going to end up making them much longer by talking about them. So we're going to be here for a while, so make sure to strap in for that. We might be here for like 3 hours possibly, because this video is an hour and a half. But we'll see if we can push it to around 2.5. Like, try not to make it just 3 hours long, but maybe it might end up being that way. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I have to say, but yeah, like I don't know why I've forgotten so hard about like blaming on Jorge and Nexpo. I always had in the back of my mind that there was like people I was forgetting about when thinking about Masquerade and Nick Crowley, but like I just could not remember them until doing this series. It's like, oh yeah, blame it on Jorge. Oh yeah, Nexpo. So they might show up soon. Again, they might even be stacked on top of each other. Though I feel like Blame It on Jorge might have anything to really watch now. I feel like I missed peak period for doing reactions after dark. Since I've already watched so much of these guys' content, it's like I can't upload any of that. And then I've already seen so many analog horror stuff too, like Local 58. I think Nexpo did stuff with it, like the Gemini one, the Mandela catalog, all that stuff. I know all about that stuff already. So it's like I missed peak reaction period to horror stuff. And like the guy who made SCP-096 and Overlord, like those short films, they canceled their uh apparently they canceled their next SCP project, I think, and then they made like a stalker thing, which I'm not really interested in the stalker thing, so we don't have anything to watch from them either. I've already seen all their SCP stuff, even like the old like source filmmaker stuff that they had. So it's like we're at like a deficit of like cool horror stuff to watch now. Well, horror in quotes. So yeah, oof. I needed to get in on this earlier. Not that it would have mattered, but just to have like the content to post probably wouldn't have changed like any viewership on the channel like that much. But it's just the fact that I wish I would have reacted to all that stuff sooner. It's just I didn't really want to do react stuff. I was holding out on doing this kind of content, but here we are. Not that it's that big of a deal. It's especially when I'm
Bada bing,
actually
bada boom.
able to talk about
Before
stuff.
we get started,
Because I was worried about not being able to really speak and just sitting here quiet, not doing anything for like however long the videos are. But at least with the reactions after dark stuff, I've been able to just hold enough time to like at least typically double the video that we're watching, like the length of the video that we're watching.
I just want to give a content warning. There's going to be a lot of very graphic videos included in this episode.
Okay. Let me just scroll down to see if this is age restricted or something. No, her video isn't age restricted or have any restrictions on it that I can see. I can't see if the like what if there's a territory being blocked. I can't see that because that's only information she would know. But there's no age restriction on this, so that doesn't make me weary since she's a big channel, so she can get away with it, right? I don't know if I can get away with showing whatever she might show in this video, but we'll have to see. If you see this video, that means it's okay. Accidentally paused there. That would have been bad.
This event was recorded over and over again. There's just a lot out there, and I feel like a lot of the times you need to kind of hear from the families of the victims, and you need to see some of the events that took place just to really understand how important it is that we help these families get justice. So, huge content warning. And with that being said, let's get into it.
Okay, is this the...
On October...
Okay, no, she's gonna start talking. Again, I don't know how this is pronounced, but do I know this story? Is this about a crowd crush? The thumbnail is a bunch of people, like really packed in, like sardines, obviously. So I feel like this one might have been big enough to actually be heard outside of Korea. I'm assuming this is Korea because I see Korean there. Yeah, I feel like I've like heard of this, but like only like a point of a percent about it. I don't know anything past that.
October 30th, a man walked out of his tiny little shop in Itaewon, and he placed this...
So Itaewon. So it is like Itaewon. It's just there's a hard cut in the middle. Itaewon.
This pink piece of cloth into like this alleyway. He brings out this tray of food. He lights 2 candles, and this elderly man, he gets on his knees in front of the food, and he starts sobbing. Police immediately approach him, and this alleyway is supposed to be closed off. They had it taped up. Nobody was allowed through. So what is this man doing?
Yeah, I mean, the place is covered in trash. I don't know what's going on there on the left wall there. I guess that's just red paint. It's peeling in a way to make it look like it could have been like globs of viscera, but I don't think it is. It's just paint that's peeling.
Remnants of the tragedy before were lingering everywhere. I mean, if you look at this video, there's IDs, lost shoes, clothes, like everything is scattered throughout the alleyway.
Yeah, I assume this was after what had happened, clearly, from how trashed the place is.
And the officer tells the old man, the police officer, you can't do this. Like, you gotta go. Grab your stuff. Come on, let's go. The old man starts arguing back. He's like, don't do this right now. You have to let me do this. You have to let this go. The officer tells him, just take your food. We gotta go. And he screams, no, you leave that right there. More officers start to show up at the scene, and they start touching the food that he's laid out on the ground. They're trying to take it away. The man breaks down, and he yells at them, don't you even dare touch the food. Finally, the man...
I feel like they should know what he's doing, right? This seems like some sort of like offering, which they should know. It's their own culture, so they should understand that he's doing some sort of offering, I'm assuming.
Breaks down completely, and he's sitting on the ground, cold cement, and he's just sobbing. The officer sits down with him, and both of them start crying, and he's like stroking the old man's back, trying to console him. The old man had screamed at them, the children need to have one last meal. One last meal, so don't touch it. Don't you dare touch it.
신랑의 끝에 상인도
Oh, we actually have audio
경찰도
here.
울음을 터뜨립니다. 이 어이없는 비극을 우리 사회는 언제까지 되풀이해야 할까요?
He owns a shop in this alleyway. He's a business owner, and he said that he tried his best to save as many people as he could, but so many more people died literally right in front of his eyes. 159 people died in the alleyway the night before, and he wanted them to have one last meal.
Okay, this part. So yeah, her intro audio here is copyrighted. Again, I don't know if we need a license to use this music, so we're just muting this just in case. There's no way they're gonna hit me for like what this nanosecond that came on the screen. It better not have. Like literally a nanosecond of song, and you're gonna hit me with a not necessarily. It's not gonna be a strike. It's just a claim, which isn't really that big of a deal unless they want to turn it into a strike. Then it's a
The
problem.
notes are listed at rottenmangopodcast.com. There's a lot of videos that I've linked there. Please go watch them. And if you guys are watching the video podcast on YouTube at Rotten Mango or on Spotify, all the videos are going to be in this video. And I'm just going to warn you, so many of these videos are so incredibly graphic, and all of them just, yeah. So with that being said, let's get into it. His parents were really worried about him. He was meeting with a therapist twice a week. He had on-campus counseling in high school.
What are we talking about? So we've inserted a pro tag, like I said with our last videos. We're just inserting a pro tag in now, but we don't know who we're talking about.
It seemed like the parents were doing all of the right things. They were not ignoring his cries for help. They weren't saying, oh, he's just a 16-year-old teenager, maybe he's just emotional. They were taking everything he was saying so very seriously. Their son had always been a bit of a quieter kid. But
Actually, again, because I don't know what this is. I'm assuming this was a crush, a crowd crush, but maybe this is something different, and this who we're talking about is actually an antagonist.
like a good kid. He listened to his parents, he studied, came home on time, and if he was out having fun, he was always with like the same two friends. They were like the three peas in a pod. They were the three musketeers. And now he just feels so alone. He feels like he's 16, completely isolated from the world. I mean, the parents did everything that they could to help. December 12th of 2022, so not too long ago, just a few months ago, just a few weeks before Christmas, the parents get a text message from their son, and he says, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. Please don't forget me. Please, you must remember me. I'm gonna go meet up with my friends. His friends had died in the Itaewon Halloween crowd search just 43 days
Okay, so
ago. The crowd search that killed 159 people and injured nearly 200 others, and now their son would take his life in a motel bathroom because he couldn't bear to carry this like incredibly heavy burden of being the only survivor in his friend group. Literally, nobody could have ever imagined what was going to happen that night in Itaewon. I'm sure you guys have heard of what happened there Halloween weekend of 2022, and if there were a few people that knew it was dangerous, it definitely wasn't the parents of the people in attendance. They would never have let their kids go if they knew anything bad was going to happen. By all accounts, all these people in attendance, they were responsible adults. There were some that were in high school, some even as young as middle school, but their parents knew exactly where they were going. They just wanted to celebrate. So I kind of need to talk to you about how the night starts so you just see how normal it is. It wasn't like, oh, these people, they went to this dangerous area and risked their lives to celebrate. Like they went to this area that everyone was like, oh, we're warning you, don't go here. It's so, so bad. Absolutely not. Like that's not what happened at all. I did see some online discourse of people being like, well, these people were being young and drunk and reckless, and this is what happens when they all gather in one spot.
we keep saying kids. Like, was it all just kids? Like, how young are we talking? I'm assuming we're gonna understand that later, but like, is it just all children? The old man was pretty old, right? So typically, when you're that old, most like you can like be pretty lenient with calling someone like a kid. So like someone in their 20s would be a kid to an old man, right? So I don't know how old we're talking all these people were. I'm assuming between like teenage and 30.
I completely disagree. For example, Mr. and Mrs. A, that's what we're going to call them. They're sitting in the car, October 29th of 2022, and they're on their way to this super fancy restaurant. They're smiling at each other in the car. I'm sure they felt really excited and kind of giddy. Like they had worked so hard in the past, 3 decades to raise their family, and now their kids finally all grown up. So the parents, they're living the life, and it was also the dad's birthday. And their 25-year-old daughter had just made them reservations at one of the fanciest restaurants in town.
Also, it's Father's Day today as I'm recording this, so I guess happy Father's Day to everybody.
She texted her dad, "Go have fun with mom. Also, thank you for raising me. I'll repay you in the future, haha." She wouldn't be joining them as she was gonna go with some friends to celebrate Halloween in Itaewon. So the whole car ride, they're just smiling at each other. I mean, they had raised their kids to be such incredible adults. In another part of Seoul, a dad watched his daughter get ready for Halloween festivities. She was dressed up as Princess Jasmine from Aladdin. This is her.
I wouldn't even have known that's what that was, honestly. I don't know when the last time it was that I've seen Aladdin, question mark, or if I've even really watched it before. I probably have. It's just if I did, it was like as a child, and I have not seen it since.
And he remembered. He actually made fun of her. He was like, this full-grown kid. She was putting on a fashion show for me. And she twirled around and she was like, "Appa, this is what I'm wearing. Don't I look pretty?" I'm sure he was a bit worried that his daughter was going out, but that's very normal. I mean, no parent ever really stops worrying. Same as another father in Seoul. So his daughter told him that she was going to Itaewon for Halloween. He completely trusted her to be safe. She's just always, like all these other kids, I mean, she's just always been this really well-behaved kid. She knew the rules. She followed them. She's the type that would write him these lengthy letters for his birthday. The two had this really intense bond. So 3 years before Itaewon, he was diagnosed with leukemia. And his daughter was a match, so they transplanted bone marrow from her to save his life. And she would write to him while he's recovering in the hospital. And she wrote, "I'm so happy to have been born your daughter. You're the only one that I can rely on, so please don't get sick again, okay? Take good care of yourself, Dad. I need you to stay with me for like another 70 years. You have to cook me seaweed soup."
Keep pausing at the wrong time. I guess we're just going over like a list of kids that have died in this tragedy and just giving like a bunch of stories. Like, how do they get so much information though on these things? Because they give like in-depth first-person perspective stories of like a lot of people. Like even in the first one, they give a lot of perspectives of like that, and in even not even people who were part of the incident, like parents and whatnot of people who died or whatever in the incident. We have the kind of same thing here. We have first person accounts of like parents who I'm assuming are of people who have died here. Like that information is just like that easy to get a hold of. Just everybody's testimony, question mark. They have like so much, again, first person perspectives here, which is odd to see.
Even when I'm like 96 years old, you know I don't like any other people's seaweed soup. I love you, Dad. You're the best. By the end of the night, she would be dead. And he would cry out, "You told me you wanted me to stay with you for 70 years. You wanted me to cook you seaweed soup until you were 96. You promised." Before we get there, let me tell you about Halloween in South Korea. If you're gonna be anywhere in Korea for Halloween, like the first Halloween after COVID restrictions have been lifted was October of 2022. 3 years. It was going to be Itaewon if you were gonna go anywhere to celebrate. Itaewon is a city that's located inside of Seoul, and it's above the Han River. It's typically known as...
Well, she said it's above the river. If we learned anything from last video, is all the rich people live above the river, so this must be a pretty fancy place, I'd assume. Or just like a nice place, question mark.
just a place with incredibly fun, lively nightlife. Like, that's what people go to Itaewon for. They've got bars, restaurants, nightclubs, shops that open late. It's just like this gathering center. It's also a super popular destination for foreigners. Like, the energy just feels really unique there.
I mean, there was English written around, so that would make sense.
There's even this famous K-drama called Itaewon Class, and there's actually a famous quote in that series that says, "Most people just come to Itaewon for Halloween." So October 29th of 2022, partygoers are spending hours in front of their bathroom mirrors, like putting on their face makeup, their costume, they're fixing their hair, their wigs, their everything, adjusting their dresses and their pants, and businesses were equally as busy. Like, Halloween in Itaewon that weekend, insane. They're making sure they got all the inventory that came in, like they got to get all the soju glasses, they're turning up the music. I mean, they're doing everything to make sure that everyone's going to have a good time. They're prepping their ingredients for all the food. I mean, there's going to be about 130,000 people coming through Itaewon, which is a pretty small area.
Wow.
So, like,
130 plus thousand is a lot of people. Also, if you wouldn't watch the last one, there is her husband in the background that I've been told. He's only made like, that was like his second chime in. He made a small chime. You could barely hear it earlier, but I was like, okay, he is here when I heard that. So yeah, he's still there in the background just listening to this as well.
Like, think about it. The city is Seoul. This is like a part of the major city. Even taxi drivers were on standby near Itaewon just waiting to take all the drunk people home. And I think it's important to note, for weekends like this, it's a boost in the city's economy. And this is important later. So the whole city of Itaewon, they're prepping for this big Halloween weekend.
Like I should just said, the boost to the economy is a like something we're gonna have to pay attention to later, because this title of this video just say and how the police tried to cover it up. Is that have anything to do with the police covering up because of the economic boost that Halloween has, this time of the year has for Itaewon, or etc. etc.?
It's literally been 3 years since Itaewon had a Halloween because of, the pandemic. This is the first time that mask mandates have been lifted for Halloween. So, let's talk transportation. Let's talk about the logistics of this night. Most citizens that were heading into Itaewon, they were not going to drive. They're going to take the Korean subway. First of all, most people take the subway to begin with. It's the easiest way to move around, and parking would have been absolutely horrific in Itaewon that night. Most people were planning on drinking, so they're not driving, and this is so important to note. Itaewon subway station drops you off right smack dab, like in the middle of Itaewon, right next to this little alleyway. I'm going to put up a bunch of maps, but they'll all...
Okay, what do we have here? People converging from 3 directions. Locations where CPR administered. Crowd crush in this narrow alley led to many deaths. So yeah, assuming that's what that alley was. Ambulance lined up in the streets in Itaewon Station. The station here. Yeah, this is the alley, we're guessing. But this... So the station's here, so they come out here and then walk this way, then up that way. I mean, I guess that's not too far. It's like a couple minutes to walk that way, probably, and then get into that.
Also be in the show notes. Now, this little alleyway is important because it connects the main road that has the subway station and the World Street Food Road.
I don't know if I noticed this last time, but like her hands are so red. There's either so much blood in her hands or she's eating a lot of Cheetos.
Which is like where all the bars and restaurants are. So a lot of people will travel through this alleyway to get from the train station to the busiest part of Itaewon. Some people will leave Itaewon by taking this little alleyway. Now, during the day, this alleyway looks just unassuming. It's just this narrow little space. There's restaurant entrances up and down both sides. There's even a hotel called the Hamilton Hotel located on the alleyway. Okay, so the main entrance for the hotel isn't in the alleyway, but it's like the building is right there. To me, it just looks like your stereotypical alleyway in one of the big cities. Like, space is tight, the places are gonna be tight. I'm gonna give you a bunch of pictures on just how narrow it is. It's about 10 feet wide.
130 long, 10 feet wide. Yeah, 10 feet isn't too big. I think the room I'm currently in is 10 by 10. So I can actually see how big that is. Some of this is clearly smaller than that. I'm assuming like the wider areas are 10 by 10, and maybe like something like this white part here is much shorter. So maybe like a 9, or not 10 by 10, but like this is like a 10, but this is like a 9 or an 8 even, which is not too much because you're getting to just being the length of a human. You're getting close to just being like human length at that point.
And about 130 feet long, and it's on a hill, so it slopes downward. Another thing to note is that the road is not paved over in like a smooth cement. Okay, I wouldn't say it's as intense as cobblestone, but it's like a
Yeah, it's like laid like bricks. I don't know how to describe this kind of thing, but it's kind of just like bricks, cinder block type material. Some of these things are protruding out, and it's curved. So it's not a nice thing to walk on just because of the curve, because you're going up or you're going down. So if you're going down, you're going to be possibly forced to pick up speed just because you're walking downwards. Or if you're walking upwards, you're going to be using extra energy to walk up. And then like the jagged bricks not being like flush, we'll call tripping. Just if you're like in a bad situation, you will trip over the ground itself because of how it's being laid. Also, this stuff here, like these random curbs, that's a problem as well to trip over or run into, smash your leg into. This thing here as well.
brick floor where some bricks protrude out more than others.
Yes, exactly what I was saying. Like some of them are, it's lopsided. It's not perfectly flush. This entire road's not perfectly flush.
And you can definitely tell that some parts of this hill, this downward slope, they're uneven. So even without a crowd, it's the kind of alleyway where if you were walking down with your friend, you would try to keep an eye out because you could easily trip. It's that kind of rocky. Now, take this alleyway and imagine two horizontal roads, big roads. One road is the main party street for Itaewon called Itaewon World Food Street, and the other road has the Itaewon subway station on there.
So the back and forth here, just like showing traffic going up and down.
And the easiest way to get from these two parallel roads is this tiny little alleyway. So throughout the
What about this one?
entire Halloween night, people are up and down this alleyway, getting to and from the subway station. And as the night is progressing, there were what now seems like the first warning signs. There were a few people that were pushed down or accidentally shoved in this alleyway. Now, I mean, I'm sure the party energy, the alcohol, I'm sure it had something to do with it, but most of it was due to the alleyway, like the crowds, the foot traffic, the uneven floorings, the slope. But everyone responded to these mini accidents in a very normal way. Everyone would freeze, make sure the person got back up, was good, and then everyone would keep walking again. That's kind of to be expected. What's not to be expected is nearly 200 people dying in this alleyway. The first 911 call of the night was made at 6:30 p.m. The incident doesn't happen until about 10.
Wow, so that's 3.5 hours earlier.
3.5 hours earlier, people started realizing something wasn't right, like things are gonna get weird. So in Korea, it's 112, the emergency line, but someone called to report to the police, hey, the alleyway near the Hamilton Hotel is getting dangerous. People are going up and down this tiny little alleyway. Some people are struggling to get down the alleyway because people keep pushing them up. Like, I barely made it out of the alleyway. It's getting that crowded.
So that call happened at 6? Is that what we're saying? But the incident wasn't until later.
It's getting bad. I think you guys need to send some people down here and try to control the situation. The police on the other end asked, are people gonna fall down and cause a huge accident? Yeah, it's really dangerous. You need to do something. Okay, thanks for calling. We're gonna send someone out to check it out.
Okay. And let me guess, that did not happen or something else happened? Because obviously we already have it like in the title. The police are trying to cover this up, so clearly something did not go right with the police in this scenario.
For hours, nobody checked it out.
Okay, yeah, they didn't even bother. Which I don't know why they wouldn't. I guess maybe they needed more people to call in. They only got one singular call, and they were like, "Oh, it's Halloween. Someone is like playing a prank because it's trick or treat, right? So they're assuming some sort of trick. Like, just question mark. So no one showed up.
But that's weird because don't you need to have police present when there's big crowd anyways?
Yeah, so that's the argument that people have, and why I said it's so important. The fact that Halloween weekend is an economic weekend, it boosts the economy of the city. So anytime there's these events that are held, police are part of the planning. It's all part of city planning.
Yeah.
That's like what your taxes are paying for. There was like no police there. I mean, we're going to get into all the reasonings. A lot of police officers get arrested. 7 p.m.
Oh, interesting that a lot of police got arrested. For what though? And intentionally not showing up? So what is the charge?
A large crowd gets stuck in the alleyway. I do think several things play a factor in how things would turn out this first time. It's 7 p.m. The party's just getting started, it seemed. People were drunk, but more than that, people were just excited to be there. Keep this in mind, and it's not that big of a crowd. So there's a crowd stuck in the alleyway, and it seems like an accident is just waiting to happen. So a woman in the crowd, she senses this danger. She climbs up onto a ledge in the alleyway where she can see both ways, and she starts directing the crowd, like, a traffic police officer. She's urging everyone, hey, go down the slope first, everyone. Move to the side, and then people going up the slope can come up afterwards. It sounds easy. I mean, it sounds like, why didn't they do this the next time it happened? But it was.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to get 100,000 people allegedly to move in unison with each other, which is not going to happen.
Wasn't easy by any means. Like, the crowd was moving basically inch by inch. That's how jam-packed it was. It was not like a, hey, everyone to the right, to the left. They're inching forward and backward, but I still think it was at a point where it was manageable. Everyone was yelling to everyone, listen to the woman, get down the alleyway first. The music wasn't that loud yet. People weren't, out and about for that long. And just in general, there weren't that many people in the alleyway. But after this crowd is able to get through the alleyway, there's like this lingering feeling. This is not a good situation. At first, in the beginning of the night, all the posts about Itaewon that night were, oh my God, Itaewon's going to be crazy.
Of course, we have Squid Game here. By the way, I've not seen Squid Game. Don't know if I ever will watch Squid Game. I mean, I don't have Netflix, right? It's a Netflix show, I think, right? I haven't seen it. Don't know if I ever will see it, but interesting to see these Squid Game guys here. I mean, of course they would. It's a Korean show, right? After all, so it only makes sense.
It's going to be fun. It's so exciting. Look at all the places that are open. Look at these costumes people are wearing.
Spider-Man and Deadpool with the Hello Kitty backpack. Interesting. Oh, that just because we see Hello Kitty here, it gives me an anecdote that I can throw out there just because it's relevant. I was looking through the Wi-Fi, like all the Wi-Fi's around me, just for whatever reason. I don't remember why I was doing it today. I noticed that there's a Wi-Fi router around that's named Hello Kitty Island Adventure, which, if you know, that's a game that's like that came out not too long ago. Which I was like, what? Someone somehow happenstancely named their router Hello Kitty Island Adventure. What? Who is this person and where do they live? Can I come over?
It was
Yeah, it's just like weird. Like, what? Really? Hello Kitty Island Adventure router?
exciting. Look at all the places that are open. Look at these costumes people are wearing. It was a good thing. It was a positive feeling. But throughout the night, more posts were popping up about how dangerous things were starting to feel. Someone straight up tweeted, wildly unsafe in Itaewon right now. They showed some pictures of the intense crowds.
Yeah, I mean, someone needs to. She showed this part
Wildly
earlier,
unsafe in
but
Itaewon right now. They showed
like people need to get up to here. Like nobody's here because it seems like that's like part of a building or if not house, but I think it's not like the house. It's just the back part of a building where they have the trash at. But like people need to get up here and they need to be like hanging off of here. There's the lip up here too. Like some people could jump up to that part and then like try to get through. I don't know if anybody ended up doing that, like trying to getting up here to survive, or on the top of this roof here, if we can call this a roof, right there.
showed some pictures of the intense crowds. It wasn't just social media being made aware of this situation. A lot of people in Itaewon called the police.
The drone footage of that?
Which I think is interesting because technically no crime had taken place yet, but the fact that a lot of these civilians could see that things were escalating, I think that goes to show you how unprepared the city was for this event. Like, it's just insane. One survivor said, it was around 8 p.m. when I went into the alleyway, and it was like hell. So this is even before the incident. They said there were already a ton of people in the alleyway and I couldn't get into the alleyway. I couldn't even get in. So there's multiple directions that people are coming in from. On both sides of the alleyway, there's 2 directions people are flowing in from.
Okay.
Like this, right?
Yeah.
And she said, I couldn't get in. After waiting for an hour to start walking down the alleyway, my friend and I were like, okay, we can't do this. Like, let's turn around. They try to turn around. They're like, okay, we've been waiting here for an hour. We haven't even started walking down the alleyway. But it was impossible to turn around because they were jam-packed. People were pushing up behind him. I mean, they were literally trapped. Someone was pushing them down the alleyway. People in front of them were pushing back on them. She said that she heard people behind her screaming, squeeze in, squeeze in. Like, come on, let's get down the alleyway. But in front of her, people were screaming, help me, stop. Like, I can't breathe. Stop pushing.
This was 8 o'clock.
Yeah. The scariest part that she said was she fell. She said,
Oof. Well, thankfully she was able to get up. Clearly, because if she's still alive, we have her testimony. Well, then, thankfully, she was not squashed.
a person in front of me fell and I fell with them. And everyone behind me started falling like dominoes, right? So there was like a little incident where everyone started tripping. And she said, someone was under me, I was under someone, and people were on top of me. I could barely breathe. I was calling for help and I felt like the music was drowning me out. Nobody could even hear me. And then finally, someone like dragged her to the side into one of the bars. They later left the alley slowly along the wall, but it was just as crowded as they left. So things there clearly getting worse and worse. One caller told the police before the tragedy, and I repeat, before the tragedy.
Oh, we had an aerial shot there. We have a lot of aerial shots of this incident. Like, this is really high up, right? Why was there so much aerial footage of this, and yet the cops didn't do anything about it? Because it almost seems like they are seeing this from drones. The drone could be just like someone else's, or like, but like security cameras, possibly just the city's security cameras, not just residential stuff, but like actual cameras that the city has and can see through.
Just as crowded as they left. So things there clearly getting worse and worse. One caller told the police before the tragedy, and I repeat, before the tragedy. They called the police and said, I feel like I'm gonna get crushed. When I was in that alleyway, a lot of people were just getting squashed. It's pure chaos out here. Please help. Send help. The officer on the other line reassured her that help was on the way. Records show that they were not on the way.
Why though? Like, what is going on? Why did they not listen? Again, like I was saying, like the trick or treat thing. Like, do they just think they're being tricked? Like, what? Is it just fear of COVID at the time? They were like, oh, we can't do this. We don't want to get sick. Like, what is going on?
Out of numerous phone calls that were made to the police that night, the police only sent out officers 4 times, and apparently they didn't do anything. I don't know if maybe they didn't feel like anything was wrong. Maybe they didn't care to find out. Honestly, I don't know. But it is noted the police did not dispatch anyone after calls were made from 9 p.m. and onward. So an hour leading up to the tragedy, the police sent no officers to the site. And they were getting tens of calls. And
Okay, so she said no one was sent after, what, like 8 or 9? So they didn't come until afterwards. But that doesn't mean they didn't come before. She said they sent 4 people. So maybe they came before and were like, oh, it's whatever, we're gone. And then now they're like, they're not sending anybody because they've already sent too many people, and they didn't do anything, and that's what caused this to happen. Because like they did not take this situation seriously.
And it truly is not that nobody was alerting them that something was wrong. In fact, someone even walked into the police station to tell them. A live streamer, let's call her G. G was live streaming in Itaewon that night, and the night started off great. But soon the roads, the alleyways, they got so crowded, she's being pushed and shoved to the point where she had a crossbody bag on and the strap broke. And her purse was just gone because it fell. And she can't even look around at the ground because it's just so filled with people. She tries to look for it briefly, but the crowd is so intense. She goes to the Itaewon police station to report her purse missing. But also, she's warning them. Like, this is how crazy the crowds are. Like, you don't think that's crazy that this happened with my purse? Like, nobody stole it. It broke because I was being pushed and shoved. She said, when I was there in the alleyway, I even saw people shouting that they had fallen and that they had gotten hurt. Like, you guys need to do something about it. The crowd is getting out of control. Somebody's going to get hurt. The police ignored her. They instead focused on the fact that they're like, oh, well, We're gonna keep an eye out on your purse. Hopefully someone turns it in tomorrow to lost and found.
What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like, what is happening with the police this night? It's like almost like they want something to happen.
Oh, it gets really... The conspiracies come too.
Oh, we got conspiracy theories. Okay.
It's really crazy. So, I mean, the question, I guess, is did the police just really think that nothing bad was going to happen? But they were wrong. The tragedy happened 1 hour after she reported it to the police. A 24-year-old South Korean streamer, let's call him Mr. A, he was live streaming. And his time in Itaewon, like I said, with the other live streamer, at first you see him laughing, he's smiling on the stream.
Yeah, they're not too. I mean, they have space in this situation.
He's walking through the crowds, there's people in costumes, dancing, having fun. And then slowly the initial joy just starts dissipating. Those laughters suddenly morph into people's screams and cries. And at one point, even the
Yeah, they're kind of packed in now.
streamer is crying for help because he had walked into the alleyway and got caught in the crowd surge. So
The woman that was with him isn't there anymore, I don't think. But yeah, the first part was, yeah, I feel that's pretty typical crowding for like some sort of crazy event. But then like no, then it's just like, okay, we're sardines. Something's wrong.
he said the space got tighter and tighter and tighter, and the pressure became unbearable. He said there was this girl next to him, and she was much, much shorter than him. She was screaming for help. He tried to give her as much space as possible, but it was difficult. And in the end, he said that he saw her face turn purple, and then she stopped screaming, and then she died. The streamer said the only reason he was alive was a guy in a blue denim jacket helped him climb up into this small ledge on the wall of...
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like we needed to get to that spot. That's the exact spot I was talking about. Like getting up to there, that there was just free real estate up there.
The alleyway. It was like a small staircase ledge, like a mini balcony. And the streamer said that once he got up there, he started helping other people onto the ledge, saving them from the crowd. And there was this moment where people on the ledge looked at each other, and one of the guys told him, "Please don't pull more people up. It's already too crowded." And the streamer said, "Okay, just one more." He helped save about 5 to 10 people from the crowd. And remember the denim jacket guy that helped him get onto the ledge in the first place?
Yeah.
He stayed in the crowd and let the weaker people climb up on him to get to the ledge. He survived. He did make it up to the ledge at the end, and he stayed behind to help administer CPR later. It's speculated that the man in the denim jacket saved more than 10 people that night. But the crowd started getting tighter and tighter, till literally hundreds of people were trapped in the alleyway. The space of the alleyway is said to have been the size of maybe like half a classroom. Think of that many people in this small amount of space. They're not able to communicate because the music is so loud. The floors are uneven. It's so easy to trip. It's just insane. Obviously, I don't know what that would have felt like. I've never been in that situation, but there were a lot of people who survived the surge, and they described it as...
Yeah, I don't know if I've been in a situation like that before. With surrounded by a lot of people. If I have, it's been so long that I wouldn't be able to describe it. Because I've been at a rock concert before, near a mosh pit. And like if you're close to that, it's kind of like hard not to get pushed around and moved in directions. So, but I couldn't tell you how that felt. And that was... I am going to say... Let me pause so I can actually think about how long that was. I think, give or take, 17 years ago? Question mark? How long that was? Yeah, I literally could not tell you how that was, other than like I'm assuming it was pretty like rough, having to deal with being so cramped in like that. But obviously nothing like this, though.
I saw a man with this flashing baton trying to signal people to move back. But you can't move back. It doesn't even matter if someone's giving you directions. It's so crowded. You can't move even if everyone wants to move. You can't move. So like I said, this crowd surge was different from the first one. You know, the first one that I told you about that didn't turn into an accident because of the woman on the ledge, there were way too many people this time. So even if there were people taking initiative trying to navigate the crowds, there was no space. The amount of coordination something like that would have taken, nearly impossible in these conditions. And even then, who knows if it would have worked? People in the crowd said that they saw several people trying to look up at the sky, looking for some sort of like direction, some air. They looked like they were getting lightheaded, like they were gonna faint. They couldn't even reach their arms up to protect their lungs. So that's like the first thing they tell you to do in a crowd surge is to try to give your lungs space. So you put up your arms in almost a defensive boxing position. They couldn't even lift their arms. Most of the ones in the center of the crowd, they couldn't even reach their hands to look at their phones that they were holding in their hands. Many of them had missed calls from their parents. One mother texted her daughter, "Where are you? Where are you? I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy because I'm so worried. Please respond just so I know where you are. Please just tell me you're safe." The mother
Do they somehow know about Itaewon at this point then? To be so worried?
had her daughter's name saved on her phone as "my oldest princess." She would never respond. There is a video of the situation. Well, there's multiple videos of the situation where you can see just how dire the situation is. There's some videos where you can see a man trying to cling onto a brick that's protruding from the wall, and it's just really graphic. I know it might be puzzling. Some of the videos, they show a different perspective.
So here we have a lot of space.
Where there looks to be some sort of space between the crowd and like an opening. And I saw a lot of comments that were like, why don't they just all move forward? There's space. I don't get it. At this point, what the video isn't showing is that there's people stacked on top of each other on the ground in front of that space. There's no way for anyone standing to move forward. People had fallen. They were stacked so high, the people behind them were blocked. It's said that the worst part of the crowd surge, people were stacked on top of each other 13 feet tall. Situations like this, it's like a
What was that hard cut there? That was weird.
domino effect. One person falls down, and because of the force of others pressing into you, it's very likely that another person's gonna fall.
You say 13 feet? That's way taller than the ceiling.
Yeah, because it's going downhill and stuff. Again, this has nothing to do with anyone being drunk. I don't really like it when people make it out to be, oh, a bunch of drunk people, of course they're gonna trip and fall.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's just too many people. Like, that's not even like an argument, honestly.
They're gonna wreak havoc. This is more about just plain physics. It wouldn't matter if we're talking about church ajumas on a Sunday after drinking tea. Like, this is about physics. It has nothing to do with alcohol. Because of the slope and inertia, like I said, one person falls, it's going to be a domino effect. People are just going to start collapsing. And even if you don't fall, that doesn't mean that you're going to be fine. The pressure of all these people pushing into you, it would cause your lungs to not be able to inflate with oxygen. If 10 people are pushing onto you with their body,
It's not just not being able to breathe. It's also the fact that if you try to breathe, you actually, I think you can probably pop your lungs. 'Cause you're putting like so much force and trying to force them out that they just rupture as well. I think it's also the fact that you can't breathe, but also that if you put too much effort, like as much effort as you possibly can into trying to breathe, that you might just like rupture them anyways because they're not being allowed to inflate or whatever. So there's like multiple issues with what could end up happening in this kind of scenario.
body weight and more, or let's say they're on top of you, which by the way, there looks to be way more than 10 people pushing onto everyone. Let's say they're on top of you, that could be similar to 1,000 pounds of weight pressing straight onto your chest. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to breathe. It's incredibly dangerous, incredibly real, incredibly terrifying. A person may lose consciousness 30 seconds after being severely crushed, and they would suffocate after about 6 minutes. Side note, I know a lot of people in the beginning when news first broke of what happened, I saw a lot of people wondering if it was a stampede, which is you're getting run over by a group of people. Like they're running on top of you. But it wasn't. It wasn't someone being trampled to death. This was more like quicksand. like being trapped in quicksand. People were pushing up against one another, falling, stacking on top of each other. It's like you're suffocating because you're unable to expand your chest to bring in air. Many of the victims would pass out while they were still standing up. So it wasn't a stampede. It's categorized as a crowd surge. Most people who were in the crowd, they remembered vividly about how it felt. They were being lifted off the ground. Their feet weren't even touching the ground anymore. And that's why there's so many shoes that were left behind, because that's how strong. I mean, the pressure from all sides, they were just being pushed and shoved, and that pressure, it's like they're being held in the air by it. I imagine it's like the feeling of being caught in this powerful wave in the ocean. Like, you don't stand a chance when you're there. Your body is pushed, shoved, thrown off balance. The force is so strong, like, what can you do? And in this situation, survival might solely depend on where you're positioned when it happens. There's a 21-year-old Malaysian named Ragu, and he was lost in the crowd surge. He called his best friend Kim while he was stuck in the crowd surge, and Kim said Ragu was this hard worker. He worked in construction so that he could earn money to send back to his parents back home in Malaysia. He was just this patient and kind soul that just wanted to support his family. He called him in the crowd, and he told his friend Kim, "I'm having a hard time breathing." He also told him, "There's a woman next to me who's fainting, and I'm trying to get her medical attention. She needs help very quickly." He told Kim that he's trying to find ways to escape the crowd surge because this woman, this stranger, really needed help. Kim is anxiously staying on the phone with him, and I'm sure that he felt just helpless because he can't do anything for his friend. And then suddenly Ragu told him that the woman he was trying to save, the stranger next to him, her hand had gotten cold. And not too long after, the phone was disconnected. That was the last time Kim would hear from his friend. He died that night. At around 10:30 p.m., the fire department starts receiving calls that 10 people have been pushed down to the ground and crushed. So again, I don't think it was just 10 people, but I think in the vicinity, people who were able to access their phones saw about 10 people.
And then the fire department is finally going to show up, though this is a fire department. Is like this is the first notion that they're getting called, and like, okay, we're on it, we're on our way. But like the cops were like, oh yeah, we're not gonna bother. But assuming this is the first call that the fire department got, and they're like immediately gonna end up getting there, hopefully. I mean, good on them. But like, it's just like, really, the cops ignored this for we'll just say 4 hours. Ignored it for 4 hours, but then the fire department was like, no, we got you.
They reported that people were having difficulties breathing. A few minutes later, the first 4 ambulances were dispatched. Then 6 more came just a few moments later. Police officers started arriving at the scene, and they're unable to control the crowds. Now, it's important to note that there are a few select police officers to judge for not taking action quicker, but a lot of the ones that were dispatched in this moment, they were just genuinely trying their best to help. They were not the ones making executive decisions of who goes where. They were going where their superiors told them to go. They were not the ones picking up the phone about this Itaewon crowd surge. They were just told to go there. So they show up not knowing what's going on. There's a video. Police officer Kim, he wasn't even dispatched to the scene. He was on duty nearby, and
Okay, so he just happened to be nearby and saw what was happening. So what's going to end up happening to this guy then?
he happened across the situation. So he stops and he tries to take action. He said that when he got to the alleyway,
Okay, well, we're speaking as if he has some sort of post-incident narrative, so I'm guessing he's still alive. Getting it crushed.
So he stops and he tries to take action. He said that when he got to the alleyway, he made his way through the crowd. He saw that civilians, regular civilians, were already taking initiative, pulling people out and doing CPR on them. So he's like, okay, this is what we need to do. You know, we need to try to figure out the best course of action in this chaos. He and his colleague decide that the best thing that they can do is redirect the crowds to stay away from the alleyway, away from the Hamilton Hotel, because you add more people in the mix, it's just not good. They also needed space for rescue work. So he starts trying to direct the crowds, and it was hard. So these crowds, most of these people have no idea what's going on in the alleyway. These are people that are about to funnel into the alleyway. And they're moving past him, and he's in police uniform, but so are a lot of people. It's Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
And he's...
I don't know if I even thought about that. Though, I guess it's okay on Halloween, but like, I don't know. I feel like you would get in trouble even on Halloween for dressing like a police officer. But if you're a child, of course not. But like a grown adult dressing as a police officer on Halloween, I feel like, is that okay? Even here, like in America, or anywhere else other than Korea? Because it seems like, oh, people just dress like cops, it is fine. But like, I feel like there would be like laws against it. Because you're already not allowed to impersonate a cop in America. I think I don't know if that's a felony, but I would assume it is a felony to impersonate a cop. And you could say, oh well, it's Halloween, so I can dress up like a cop, but I don't know. Yeah, that didn't even cross my mind that people would also be dressed up as cops and people would not be taking you seriously, or they'd just be like, oh, you're just, I don't know, anything you can think of when seeing someone dressed as a cop on Halloween. That's an oof.
Police uniform, but so are a lot of people. It's Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
And he's trying to get everyone to walk away from the alleyway because it's utter chaos over there. People are dying, people are suffocating, falling down, collapsing. And if you watch the video of him, there is like this almost primal desperation in his eyes. He's trying to talk to the people that are moving away from him, and these people, they're inches away from his face, and it seems like nobody's listening. Either they can't hear them through the music. It's nightmare fuel. When you're screaming, no one can hear you. You're the only one that knows that doom is happening. There's panic. He's trying to scream over the music. Please go home. Do us a favor. Everyone, please go home. Don't go further. Please go back. Please don't go forward. You can.
I feel like the businesses around here should, I don't know, have known what was going on by now? Question mark. I don't know. And then should have like lowered the music, if not muted it, and been like, okay, everybody go home. Something's going on. But I guess not. Also, money, of course. But we're not gonna go there yet.
You can literally feel the fear through the video.
Is there some sort of ruling on not showing people's faces? I'm guessing. I mean, obviously just for their sake, but they're specifically blurring everything but his face. I don't know if it's just to point him out or it's just like personal privacy laws that you're not allowed to show anything. But yeah, like he does seem very distraught, extremely distraught in this. Exhausted even at some point. He's trying to yell at them to go the other way, away from the search. He tried his best to warn the crowds. He tried to warn everyone that people were dying and they all needed to leave. It was dangerous. And nobody was really listening. Again, the whole trick-or-treat thing. I mean, it's not just that, but like, I'm wondering, again, if, because it's Halloween, people expect some sort of tomfoolery. Tomfoolery meant to be the right word, but some sort of like, just, like goofing. Like, I don't know. Like, what other time, I mean, other than like April Fools, I guess, would you think, see something like that and be like, oh, they're just goofing? Or like the cops not taking anybody seriously on the phone. Like, again, oh, they're just goofing. Like, I don't know if that is something that's literally happening. Because there's enough people that at least one or two of them are going to be like, oh, yeah, he's not a real cop. He's just goofing around. He was later interviewed, and he said that he didn't have a megaphone on him because he wasn't dispatched to the scene. He was just on duty. He stumbled upon the dire situation. So I imagine he wasn't even driving around in like a cop car. I imagine that he was like on patrol duty. He said, if we went back to the precinct to get a megaphone, we would have lost too much valuable time. And he cried on the interview, and he said,
In the end, a lot of people ended up dying, and I kept thinking to myself, if I had hurried, if I had a megaphone on me, if I handled the situation differently, in a better way, maybe we might have saved one more person. And that's why I'm at a loss for words, and I'm so sorry to the families who have lost their loved ones. He said, I tried my best to rescue them, and I'm sorry. I just couldn't. I couldn't.
경찰관들 그리고 이동희 시민분들이 정말 발벗고 나서서 구조를 해주셨는데 결과적으로는 많은 분들이 돌아가셨어요.
Oh, wait, I probably should be. Hold on, let's roll me back. Because we're just listening to this. I should read this out. So despite the hard work of rescue workers, police officers, and civilians,
이동희 시민분들이 정말 발벗고 나서서 구조를 해주셨는데 결과적으로는
a lot of people did end up dying. So I kept thinking to myself, if I had hurried and had the megaphone on me, or if we had handled the situation differently in a better way, we might have saved one more life. That's why I'm at a loss of words, and I'm really sorry to the bereaved families.
The situation literally couldn't have been worse. I know there's a lot of discourse about what's wrong with these partygoers. People are dying. Why aren't they listening to the police? What's wrong with them? But that's not everyone. I mean, I would like to believe it was a small group of people. It's not like everyone just stood around watching. People, they tried really hard. There was a photographer visiting from China, and he went to Itaewon thinking he would take a lot of cool pictures since he heard the costumes were going to be going all out this year. He finds himself crushed in the alleyway instead. He's hanging onto this pole to prevent himself from losing balance and falling over, and he was standing behind these two women. Every time like a wave of pushing would come, he would grab onto these women. He said he tried to stabilize them because he knew if they fell over, they would be dead. There would be no getting back up in this situation. He wanted to make sure that they were okay, even when he himself was not doing okay. And there were others like him. He said he looked into the crowd and saw this family, so a mom, dad, and a kid that seemed to be maybe 3-4 years old. The dad was holding onto the baby above the crowd so the child wouldn't get crushed. And side note, it seemed like the family was passing through to get home or to the station. It's not like they were out partying for Halloween with their kid. They get stuck in the crowd and they're screaming for help. He said that he saw the crowd working together to pass the child from the parents to a nearby business in the alleyway. So when the photographer made it back out alive, he went back to his hotel. He's so shaken up. I mean, he only had like 3 pictures in his camera roll that night, and all of them were before the tragedy, and everyone just seems to be so happy, just connecting with each other. And he said that his hands are shaking when his wife called him. They just had a baby, so she just gave birth recently, and she's calling from China, and this is so heartbreaking. But she called and asked about his night, and he said he came home because he just wasn't feeling it. He didn't want to tell her that he had witnessed one of the most horrific incidents of his entire life. He didn't tell her that he stood there watching people die next to him. He said that he didn't want to worry his wife until he got home.
I was gonna wonder if you did end up telling her or not. I mean, you're gonna have to end up saying something like that, right? At least to your wife. Because you're supposed to be there for each other, right? Just had to wait some time to get to that point.
Like, even during the most traumatic moments of these people's lives, even during a situation where it was life or death, a lot of these people were still putting others first. A little girl had gotten lost in the crowd. She was separated from the adults that she had come with. She had momentarily fallen down, and she felt a man helping her regain balance. And if he hadn't, she likely would have been crushed to death. She didn't know his name. She didn't have the chance to thank him. Witnesses said that the man who helped her ended up getting stuck after he pulled her out, and he ended up passing away. His name was Lee Ji-han, and his name might sound familiar, but
I mean, he looks familiar just because he looks like K-pop boy.
he was a 24-year-old actor in South Korea.
Yeah.
He was on a few different shows, and he was always known to be very, in Korean it's called 매력적이, which means very charismatic. So he'd be on these shows and he would laugh in these like reality shows, and he would always cover his mouth very shyly. He just felt like such a genuine person. And the most heartbreaking part about this is that he had just signed to star in a new NBC fantasy drama that would have been his breakout role. Like that was the role he had been looking for, like his whole career. And he had what it took. He was good at his job. He was able to make people fall in love with these characters. He just wouldn't get the time. The little girl's parents expressed their gratitude and apologized to Ijian's family for his act of courage. So all the while this is happening in the middle of the crowd, just to show you how chaotic this whole incident was, some people at the top of the hill didn't even realize that there were people being trampled down at the bottom.
Yeah, so the people near the station, because I think it goes down into like where you want to be, like where the party areas, the food or whatever. So the people at the station didn't know anything was going below the station.
Some of them didn't even realize how dire the situation was becoming. They were just excited to get down there and have fun.
Yeah, because if you're near the base, it's easy to get into the get into this street, right? And you're not really understanding what's happening at the end of the street or in the middle of the street.
And we're going to talk more about this later, but there are online speculations that a group of people had caused the crowd surge and had started pushing people down. More on
I mean, sure. I mean, that's of course going to happen. People are going to panic and then start trying to fight their way through it to save themselves by any means necessary.
that later, but for now, at 11 p.m., 30 more ambulances were deployed to the scene, as well as more personnel, more authorities, national disaster medical assistance teams, firefighters, policemen. They're all finally being dispatched to Itaewon. Finally, at 11:19, Halloween in Itaewon was called off. 10 minutes to midnight, the fire department issued a Stage 3 order, which is usually reserved for large-scale disasters. It was too late. I mean, first of all, they arrived a bit too late. I mean, even when the personnel got there, it's not like they could do much. They're just trying to resuscitate people. It was pure chaos. Add to that, there were a ton of partygoers who were wearing paramedic uniforms. They look like doctors, nurses, police, firefighters. The music is still blasting. I mean, it's hard to even decipher what the hell is going on, who to listen to, like what's going on. It was chaos. And of course, the question is, if authorities had gotten there sooner, if the victims had been treated immediately, could they have been saved? I'm not a medical professional, but a lot of medical professionals online speculated that, yeah, a lot of them could have been saved.
Sure, I don't think that's not a crazy statement to assume that could have happened.
Usually after 4 to
But I mean, if the police would have just showed up at, 8 or 6? It was 6, right? They would have showed up at 6:30, everything would have been fine.
5 minutes of enduring this level of pressure and lack of oxygen, you start heading into severe brain damage territory. So time is of the essence. I would say that there's a few different types of people that weren't a part of the crowd surge. There's the ones that were inside. So these are partygoers that were inside bars, restaurants that weren't connected to the alleyway. They probably came outside and saw all hell break loose and they had no idea what's going on. Then you have groups of people in other parts of Itaewon that hadn't seen what happened in the alleyway yet. So they don't know what's going on. They're partying on the other side of Itaewon. They're living up their Halloween weekend. Then you have those who saw what's going on and they fled. They left. They were terrified. Then there were those who stayed and tried to help authorities with CPR. And then there were a group of people, and I would like to say this is the smallest group of people.
Okay, who are they going to be? Don't say these are the hyenas. We used that term before. Who are we going to have?
That saw what happened, heard people were dying, and they continued to party.
Ah.
There's a viral clip of a bunch of people partying on the side of the street while ambulances and medical staff are performing CPR on the other side.
Like in plain sight?
Yeah. And this is the first clip I saw of Itaewon on the night that it happened.
Oh, actually showing it. People partied next to the ambulances after Halloween crowd crush in Itaewon. And, of course, people have their phones out. People have their phones out. What are they recording, though? Are they actually recording all the ambulances?
You think these people know what's going on?
A lot of people think they do. I would like to speculate that maybe they didn't know. In their defense, they said that there were a high number of ambulances present. So maybe they just thought it was like a precautionary measure. But they were literally fist pumping to the song on the beach. I mean, the visual impact has been a lot.
I mean, there is a lot of people there and a lot of ambulances, so like, I would assume some people there don't know what's going on. They're just like, they see a bunch of ambulances, they're out in the party. Like you said, they could just assume that they're just there for just in case, etc., etc. Of course, some people are probably some bad eggs in there, but I can't like just assume every single person there is evil, right?
So while ambulance lights are flickering around them, they're singing, dancing, and to make matters worse, it said that a lot of people were so busy filming the ambulances while partying, they were blocking the medical staff from getting to the victims.
I mean, that's like rough though.
Koreans could not, for the life of them, understand how that could have even happened. How could people be doing that? After the crowd surge, the alleyway slowly starts getting cleared, and now we're just dealing with the aftermath. Trying to rush everyone to get medical attention, there were hundreds of people laying there motionless, needing CPR and needing it fast. So Anna was originally from Spain, and she had come out to Itaewon with her friends for Halloween night. She walked into the bar that night with her friends. People in costumes were laughing, taking pictures. I mean, it was a great night. And then when she walked out, it was just like an apocalypse. She didn't even have time to take it all in. People start running up to her and her friends, and they're like, "Do you know how to perform CPR?" Anna didn't know, her friends did, so they're like, "Hurry, follow me." Anna's friends run off without her. She's completely alone, just standing in front of this restaurant, like confused. 3 minutes later, her friends come back, and they're crying, and they're screaming. "We tried to save them. We just tried to save like 5 or 6 people, but they died." Anna runs with them to go help more people, and she said, "I didn't know what I was doing. I just followed the others. They told me to hold these people's heads, open their mouths, and I tried, but they all died. The people we tried to help, they had already stopped breathing. There was nothing we could do." It was so traumatic. It was total pandemonium. I mean, sirens and screams and cries. Music is still blasting. Paramedics are doing CPR in the middle of the road. Partygoers are stopping and watching. Some of them are performing CPR. The only lighting is coming from the brightly colored neon lights of the bars and the ambulances. Random civilians started taking charge and administering CPR, most likely to girlfriends, boyfriends, best friends, their sisters. Like, you see these people trying to get them to come back, and it's just so desperate. A Pakistani nurse was visiting his brother that lives in Korea. They went to Itaewon just to see what Halloween was like in Korea. He ended up surviving, and he helped with the CPR efforts that night. He performed CPR on roughly 15 to 30 people that night. Now, if you guys have performed CPR, it's physically incredibly taxing. It's not just like you're using your whole body. These people were drenched in sweat. He said that he worked all night long, and he saw everyone working so hard. People didn't even know who anyone was. They're just doing everything they can to try and save some people. I just want you to listen. He is speaking Korean, and he's saying, "I'm a nurse. I know how to do this." And if you don't know Korean, you might not understand, but you hear people screaming in the background, and they're screaming, "Help me, help me."
I'm a nurse, I can do it. What is it? I'm a nurse, I can do it all. Okay. And of course, the people screaming help there.
He pretty much worked all into the night, and the next morning he got home with his brother, and he said he couldn't even fall asleep because all he heard were the screams of everyone screaming, "Help me, help me." And he said even months later, he can't close his eyes without hearing people screaming, "Help me, help me." Also in the crowd, there was a college couple who were getting married in May of 2023, so in just a few months from when you're seeing this. They had been in the crowd, and the man did everything to try and protect his girlfriend. He tried to shield her body with his own body, and he made sure that she didn't fall. But he ended up losing consciousness, and the two were separated in the crowd. He woke up. Medical staff were like, "Okay, well, you need to go to the hospital right now." He refused. He rushed to find his girlfriend, who was laying there just on the cold ground, and he performed CPR for over an hour. And she wouldn't come back. And there's more on the CPR situation we need to talk about. So most of the victims were women, naturally due to height and smaller stature.
They're just naturally just being crushed below all the bigger guys, just squeezing them in. They have more strength to try to keep people away from themselves, typically.
Most of the victims who passed were women. The paramedics were going around and they were unbuttoning their shirts because
Like, I don't know, I feel like not too many kids are here, right? Because this should have been like more of an adult entertainment. So again, like when I was saying at the very beginning with the man, um, referring to them as the kids, it's just because he's so old, like 20-somethings are kids to him. I don't think any actual like children died here, but maybe they did. Who knows? I mean, I guess teenagers too, if teenagers were allowed to be at this spot. I don't know.
the paramedics were going around and they were unbuttoning their shirts because that's how you do CPR. It's easier for them to breathe. Apparently, this is very standard. What's not standard is some onlookers pulled out their phones and tried to record videos. The victims were being administered CPR in an attempt to save their lives. Some
Yeah, of course, like I mean, people just cannot help themselves nowadays, right? It's just always got to pull up the camera and film. Got to film. Got to film.
people thought to film it for the internet because they were partially unclothed. People were crying out loud, "Stop filming! Everyone stop filming, just help!" Their bottoms were uncovered, even their shoes were missing. A lot of Koreans were upset because for these victims, even in their last moments, it's like they were being robbed of their dignity. It's just a gut-wrenching feeling. There were hundreds of people down in the ground at this point. Once the chaos was somewhat contained in terms of the chaos of the alleyway and the partygoers were shuffled out, the victims were rushed to ambulances and to the hospitals. But by this point, it's too late.
What's it gonna take for us to stop just recording everything on our phones at this point and just like help for like situations like that? Because obviously like too many people's first instinct is, oh, take out our phone, we gotta record this, it's gonna be so good to record this, but like in like a bad malicious way, right? If a fight happens or something bad happens, a tragedy happens, everyone has to bring out their phone and record it for whatever reason. And like there could be some good intent to that, but I feel like usually it's just like bad, right? Is it gonna take for us to get like cameras just installed into our eyes, you know, like Black Mirror, one of the Mirror episodes where you can just record everything you're seeing, to actually have people not do that because you're already naturally recording everything you see in that scenario, so you just have like a camera in your brain and eyes, and so you have there's no excuse. Your body is not being impaired by you bringing out your phone and recording. You have full use. Go do something. You're recording already with your mind. Just help or do something. Anything other than just like, oh, I'm going to sit here and record. But then it's just the same situation where like, oh yeah, people are just going to sit there and stand around and just watch with their eyes, right? Try to get the best shot they can for their memory bank or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the only thing would be to just get rid of phones altogether. But then I'm pretty sure back in the day, people probably just stood around and just watched around being nosy. Because there was like who was it? Was it Crowley or Masquerade? One of them, where they had the video of the snuff video of the guy being shot point blank, and the guy recording it. And then people just walking around, looking at the body, just standing there. Like I pointed out, like there's just like an old man, just like chilling there, just watching, just staring at staring at this guy's body on the ground. It's like, really, we're just hovering around this. People, I think, have had their phones out too, as well, probably. But just old man being nosy, just staring at this corpse. It's like, really? I think no matter what you do, it's just people are going to do that.
Most of the bodies were laying on the side of the road with blankets covering them. Their bodies were being put on stretchers to be taken to the hospital, but there were no signs of life, really. Most of the victims had already passed, but they had been left just on the road for more than an hour because there were too many victims that rescuers couldn't transport them all to the hospital quickly enough. A Chinese student who was in Korea at the time, she was in one of the big bars of Itaewon, and she had no idea any of this was going on. She said she walked outside at 2 a.m. Remember, the crowd surge started happening around 10:15. She walked out and she felt like the world had ended. Quite literally. She said that there were paramedics everywhere doing CPR on lifeless bodies. There were still sirens. She said, I saw rows of people covered with cloth blankets, and I felt like I was confronted with corpses. The first official death toll was issued by authorities at 2:30 in the morning. They stated 59 people had died and 150 people were injured. An hour later, the numbers rose to 120 people that were dead, with 100 injured. And it would rise again. And side note about these injured, I know sometimes we hear these numbers and you're like, well, what does injured mean? Like, do they have small scratches? Like, what's going on? I'm pretty sure it varies, but it's pretty bad. People had broken bones everywhere, fractures. They were going to need surgeries, nonstop medical attention. A lot of the injuries were life-changing. And if they weren't, they were really horrific. There was a Chinese survivor, let's call her Miss A. She said she barely survived the crowd surge. Even thinking about what happened that night, she feels like she's suffocating. She said she thinks it helped that she was relatively tall compared to the other people in the crowd, but it just felt like hundreds and hundreds of pounds were pressing on her chest. She could barely stretch her neck up to breathe. She said her neck was cramped to one side and she couldn't move it back forward. She couldn't move it to the other side. Her neck was like perpetually stuck looking to her left. And she was forced to watch the girl on her left die. She suffocated. And she couldn't even turn away because she didn't have room to move her neck. Soon after that, she felt something strange on her back, and she later realized that the person behind her was throwing blood up on her. A lot of people actually vomited. A lot of the...
Didn't even think about that, like people vomiting during this, but yeah, that definitely makes sense. Not just because some of them are slightly tipsy or drunk, but just like being crushed, stomachs being crushed in, forcing you to vomit. Just all the stress, panic, like having a panic attack would probably cost you to do that. Because I think depending on how bad the panic attack it is, it wants you to expel in all directions to try to make yourself feel better. I'm pretty sure that's how. Well, I've looked up panic attack stuff before, and like if you have a panic attack and it makes you feel like you want to throw up or go to the bathroom, is just because like a defense mechanism, right, to make you expel all of your bodily fluids, to like de-stress you or like get you out of a stressful situation. Yada yada yada. I've had like would I say thousands or 1,000? I could easily say I've had like 1,000 panic attacks in my life. Not to be like weird or anything. It's just an issue that I had. Not anything like crazy. It's just I would just get them for no reason, against my will, and not because anything bad was happening. It's just like, oh, time for a panic attack. Time to feel absolutely miserable and like you're dying and the world's ending. Yada yada yada. You need to know how panic attacks work. But yeah. So I'd assume if a lot of these people are having panic attacks during this, they might just start puking or even just going to the bathroom on themselves, which isn't going to help anybody. So yeah, it didn't even cross my mind, but now that she said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely something that's going to happen on top of like everything. Like this is like even worse than you even are imagining right now, especially now that we have been given the information of like puking and obviously coughing up blood from your insides probably rupturing. Like I said, your lungs are probably going to pop, but probably other organs too are popping, and then you're throwing up blood.
Dead bodies were seen with vomit around their faces because when you suffocate to death, oftentimes you do vomit. She said that it was so tight she couldn't even move her fingers, and it felt like 300 people were just pushing her, and her legs went numb for about an hour. She couldn't feel her legs. Eventually, she was carried out by a firefighter to the roadside. She was rushed to the hospital. She said she still needs to get x-rays for her chest because it's been really hard for her to breathe. Like it hurts when she takes a breath. Another survivor, Juliana, she's a 23-year-old student from Mexico who is...
I think you just named her. Like some of these she doesn't name, but this one she's naming.
...studying in Seoul. She said she went with a friend to Itaewon, and as they were heading into the subway station to go home at 10 p.m., the minute that they stepped into the alleyway, Juliana and her friend were separated. It was pure chaos. She said it was like this uncontrollable force that was pushing her down. Her feet lifted from the ground and she couldn't go back, she couldn't go forward. Whatever the crowd was moving in, whatever direction, that's where she was going. An unconscious person fell on top of Juliana and she said it was pure panic. She started hyperventilating. She had to calm herself down. She started blacking out. The noise of the crowd started feeling quieter and quieter, and she couldn't feel her legs. She couldn't even move a single toe. She said she started thinking, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be next. It felt like she was just waiting for death. And somehow, by some miracle, a young man standing on a high platform on the edge of the alleyway was able to wiggle her out and save her. She had been trapped like that for nearly 50 minutes. She said she looked around and there were dead bodies everywhere, and she was severely shaken up, but she went home that night and she thought it was just nerves, but the next day she had a crazy fever. She was hospitalized and diagnosed with necrosis of her leg.
That quickly? Just get necrosis just from, I guess, for 50 minutes of having circulation to your leg cut off? I need to remember that. Like, make sure we don't let circulation leave our limbs for too long. Because I didn't realize it would be that easy to just get necrosis from just lack of circulation for so long.
Basically, when blood flow is cut off from a part of your body, the tissues start to die. In severe cases, this can be fatal. It's when your limbs literally start dying and it can start spreading. Thankfully, she's recovering, but the pain is really bad. One of her legs is still very blue, very swollen. She can't walk properly. If she even breathes too hard or too fast, she feels immense chest pain. And
Okay, so she still has her legs. They didn't have to cut them off, thankfully. It seems like one leg is fine. The other one is going to eventually resuscitate itself. So it wasn't enough to go full necrosis to have them cut off, but still, I guess we need to all remember that, to not let that happen. I think this seems to have been posted near, what was it, near the events? It was 2 years ago, so not really. You said this 2020, right? This video went up 2023, I'd assume, unless the 2 years isn't accurate and it's more like 3, so it would have been up like 22. Or was it 2022? This event happened 2022? If it was 2022, then actually this video was close. Maybe she said 2022. It would make more sense for it to be 22. So this is actually probably pretty close to the events of what had happened. So I assume that lady's legs are fine now. Is what I'm trying to get to. Hopefully.
these are just the physical injuries. In the end, 159 people died in the Itaewon Halloween tragedy, including the deaths of 26 foreign citizens from 14 different nations. The overwhelming majority were Korean citizens and women, 102 women and 57 men. 158 died from suffocation, and one person later committed suicide. 196.
I'm guessing that's the teen we heard about at the beginning who friends died during this and thus wanted to join them.
People were physically injured. Physically. Keep this in mind. That's not including mental, emotional, because the trauma that these survivors, the first responders, the fire department, the trauma that this whole nation is going to carry with them. I mean, the real number of those impacted and injured and the families of the victims whose lives are just never going to be the same. Like, there's no way to put a definitive number on that. Like, it's hard to put a number on a whole nation's pain. So when news breaks of this, parents are glued to their phones. And it sounds selfish to say, but many of them were probably thinking, I hate myself for thinking this, but please, God, like, let it not be my kids. Many parents...
I mean, that's just like normal, right? That's just what everyone would be saying, or anyone who they care about, right? It's like, please not let it be them.
Parents were alerted later on by officials that their child had passed away, and they didn't believe it because, I mean, just think about how shocking that is. How do you comprehend that? Your kids go out, they're going to be home relatively early, they talked to you just an hour or two ago. Many of the kids were going out to eat with friends. One mother of a victim said, I didn't believe it until we got to the hospital. I didn't believe it until I saw my own son with my own 2 eyes. And she said since then, her whole family has been broken. Her husband, the victim's father, has attempted suicide. And their daughter, who sees them in pain, She cries to them, "It should have been me that died. It should have been me instead." Another mom rushed to the hospital only to see that her daughter had died. And she said, "It's truly devastating to identify your own child. When I go to bed, I can't get that picture out of my head, so I can't sleep anymore." The parents, they couldn't understand what had happened to her, so they got her phone and they said at 9:35 p.m. their daughter was taking pictures smiling in a bar. Then at 10 p.m. she texted her friend that she was going to go home now. She's going to go to the Itaewon station and go home. She took a couple more pictures smiling, and then on her way to the subway station, she got caught in the crowd surge and died. Her friend who survived later said that they weren't even trying to use that alleyway to get to the station. It was so crowded up until that alleyway, it's like they got sucked into it like a vacuum. Her friend ended up surviving, and she said it was so bad. She lost her shoes. Her feet weren't even touching the ground. She was just being moved by the crowd. They got separated. And her parents they look at these last pictures taken of her on her phone, and her dad said, "She's smiling. Look at her smile. Look at her face." And her mom would cry, "She's my best friend. She's my best friend."
Oh Will Suk and Kim Un-mi look through photos on her phone, trying to piece together how Jimin became one of the 158 victims of Seoul's Halloween crowd crush.
Where does he like CNN here? I figured it would just be Korean broadcasting, but we have CNN.
I can't look at the photos, they make me cry.
That image of her keeps coming to me, so I can't sleep at night.
It snowed yesterday and got cold. Jimin is buried outside. It makes me more sad.
A lot of parents gathered at a press conference, and you can hear them scream at one point, "Take us and bring our kids back." Many of the parents are heard apologizing to their kids about what happened. And I can't even imagine the pain of the guilt that these parents are going to carry just for the rest of their lives. I mean, I'm not saying that's a logical feeling. I'm not saying that they should feel guilty, but that's how parents feel. One father found out at the hospital that both his daughter's arms had been broken before she passed away. And now all he can do is visit her at her resting place, and he tells her, "Appa 왔어," which means "Dad is here. Dad is here." He said, "I should have taken more care of her. She was a precious daughter to us."
I'm guessing this is the alleyway.
이제야 왔어.
There is said to have been over 1 ton in weight of items left behind in the Itaewon tragedy, just belongings, mainly from the deceased. So bags, clothes, just left in the alleyway because, they were getting ripped off and the shoes were falling off. There were 123 handbags, 258 pieces of clothing, and 256 pairs of shoes. They were all laid out in a gym in Seoul, and parents and families were called to search for their belongings of their loved ones. And there's this heartbreaking moment where a mother walks in and she recognizes her daughter's handbag. And just to see her reaction to seeing her daughter's bag is so heartbreaking. I don't even have the words.
I was gonna wonder if we have the footage for that.
At a press conference, another mom played a song that her son sent her. And at the end, he says in a voice memo, "엄마, happy birthday. I love you." And just seeing her break down as she listens to his voice again.
엄마, 생일 축하해.
By November 1st, the funeral homes in Seoul were overflowing. They were filled with bodies of young people who were just starting their lives. So many of them had just graduated high school. Some of them were just in college, or they had just graduated. I mean, this is the beginning of their lives, and now they're gone.
Okay, so just to chime in real quick. This video so far is so much more. Like I using the word worse isn't like the right word, but it's just so much emotionally worse than the Death Mall one. I think it's just too. There's just so much like first person perspectives here. It's kind of like hard not to like be sad about this. Like if you know what I'm saying, like this one's so rough to watch. It's also just because she keeps crying. I mean, she keeps crying. They keep cutting out her probably like actually crying, and she has the like napkin in her hand. But I mean, she's been crying throughout the entire video, right? And that's rough to see as well, which it makes it harder to watch. So this one's harder to watch than the Death Mall one, just because there's so many like little chime-ins from family, them having things to say, like actual, they're just little anecdotes from these people. Then like the first one, I guess with the first one is just because like basically almost no one survived, right? And then you're only getting so many first-person perspectives from families, but there's just like constant just videos and family testimony, etc., etc. So this one's like so much harder to watch than the first one. I'm probably gonna put like extreme viewer discretion is advised or whatever. I'm gonna put something on the thumbnail for this one because this one's really rough, like extremely rough.
In one funeral home, 28-year-old James Sims' body was put to rest, and in the room next door, his best friend Yoon was put to rest, and in the funeral home across town, his girlfriend was put to rest. All three of them had died that night. And the one thing that James's parents kept saying was, our son loved to work out. Like, he spent most of his free time in the gym, so how could that not have even saved him? And I think that just shows you genuinely the true dangers of a crowd surge. It doesn't matter your fitness level, your physique, it's just that dangerous. The parents cried, James is like the best older brother out there. How is our younger son ever going to cope? A bunch of James's friends who didn't attend Itaewon that night, they came to the funeral home, and they all sat in silence grieving for James. And when they were done, they couldn't go home. They couldn't lay down and cry themselves to sleep. They had to go to the next room over and grieve for their other friend, Yoon. There were altars set up all around South Korea for mourners to pay their respect. A lot of flowers were brought. Some with soju bottles were left for the victims. Many people bowed to the victims as a sign of ultimate respect.
I'm not getting any context, so the subtitles are censored. I don't know why they're censored, but I wonder if that's still there. And if they keep, I couldn't take it anymore. When is this going to stop? What good is strong economy? What good is 30K, 50K? They let all the young ones die. How much longer will this go on? Poor things, and to think about the parents who raised them.
The man who is breaking down, talking about what good is a strong economy, I think there is a lot of trauma left over from the ferry incident in 2014, where over 300 people died, a majority of them young students.
That's the other one I was supposed to watch, the Seoul ferry tragedy. Left 350 people stranded, I'm guessing, on the boat, and that is going to be the one we watch next, so maybe I should have watched that one first, but I wanted to watch the Halloween one.
We're going to get into that in a second, but I think the
Oh, wait. Is that one we haven't done yet? Or maybe she hasn't done this one.
whole nation kind of united in these moments. Like, the whole nation was so devastated by this. I mean, even here in the US, I didn't know a single Korean that did not feel immense sadness for what was going on.
I assume she lived in Korea, so she's given the only stories we've watched have been like such hyper incredibly detailed stories of Korean events, so it's like weird for her to not even live in Korea. To have such a concentrated highly accurate level of information and anecdotes and first-person perspectives, etc., etc.
Many Koreans came out to hold up candles and these memorials all over South Korea. It's estimated that over 100,000 people came out to grieve. But slowly that sadness and that grief would turn to anger because it's like, okay, now we want some answers. So the first person that, not the families of the victims, the internet went for were the so-called pushers. So there were words of survivors that sent chills down people's backs. A lot of survivors were interviewed and they said, we were all suffocating and from behind we could hear people screaming, push, push, push.
I wanted to read that.
We were all suffocating.
Content warning. New footage released captures a moment the Itaewon crowd gets pushed down the alley. Netizens comment that many people started pushing each other, which caused more chaos.
And from behind, we could hear people screaming, push, push, push. The survivor said that the crowd started feeling these pushes in different intervals, like you were up against a massive wave, just being pushed, regaining balance, and then being pushed again. There's a couple of videos where you can see, I guess, waves in the crowd, if you can call it that.
Yeah, it's kind of like moving.
It just seems like people
back
are
and forth.
standing static and then they're being pushed in these wave-like motions. But the unsettling part was the survivors saying that a group of people were pushing the crowds on purpose. More and more survivors came out to confirm these stories and they said, yes, there were a group of guys screaming push.
Again, like I said, I think it's just... I mean, people screaming to say push, it might be well-intended, but it's like well-intentions, but it's not actually right? It's not what you should have been doing, question mark. But also it could just be like, again, selfish people like we were saying earlier that obviously they want to survive by any means necessary, even if it means trampling on others. It can be either or, right?
And they were pushing hard. One survivor said that they heard a guy say, let's just all push, kids. Push, push, push. The
Kids implies this isn't a kid themselves.
survivors said they could see the crowd surge and they were all thrusting forward and a bunch of people started collapsing in front of them. A lot of survivors all seconded this story, and some even mentioned seeing a guy with a rabbit headband being the leader of the pushers. They said that they heard him scream, "Go crazy, kids, push." One survivor said about the rabbit headband man, "I really felt like I was in hell. People in front of me were crying for help. They said that they were dying and couldn't breathe. People behind me were screaming and pushing, and I was like, wow, this is what hell feels like. My feet were lifted up from the ground. I couldn't breathe. Suddenly someone grabbed me with their hand and I was crying. They had saved me. Like they shouted at me to make myself pull myself together. There were still people around us screaming, partying, singing. It was so evil. It truly felt like hell. I saw people being crushed together and dying. If I ever see that person with the rabbit headband again, I would gladly stab them." Another witness said, "I can't believe what had happened. I saw people laughing. I'm not sure if they found it funny or if they were too scared to know what to do."
I mean, laughter is like fine, right? It's just a defense mechanism, right? It doesn't really necessarily that they're having fun. It's just like they've lost it or panicked so hard that all they can do is laugh.
Wild is that during this entire tragedy, there were people that were still partying, like I said. A survivor from India, Nuville, said that it felt like waves were coming down on him. There was nothing you could do. It felt like you were being sucked in the crowd, and it's like the crowd has a mind of its own. The only reason he said he survived was a woman, ironically wearing angel wings, waved to him, and he was able to find his way up to a high step in the alleyway. And from there, he could see people dying. He said there were so many of them, there was nothing he could do. He felt so helpless. He tried to scan the crowd for his friends. He reached for his phone. Nobody picked up. The most heartbreaking part was that he saw this man on the side of the road afterwards, just tunnel vision, performing CPR on his friend, just going at it, not taking a moment to breathe for like 30 minutes. He had sweat dripping down. I mean, he himself was so out of breath, like 30 minutes. People tried to drag him away because everyone knew that his friend was gone. But he still went on for 30 minutes. And Nuville said it was evil because he turned to the right and he saw a few people fixing their faces while this was all happening, as if nothing had happened. Another witness survivor said they lost faith in all humanity that day. Now, back to the pushers. People in the back felt like they could push their way through the alleyway, and allegedly some of them screamed, "We need to push to get through." Some even said that the two Korean words, push and go back. So you had half the group wanting to go back, and then you had half the group wanting to push. It was just at odds. And above the loud music, the chaos of the screams, it was hard to hear what people were saying. So 밀어 means push, 밀어, and then 뒤로 means back. So 밀어 뒤로, 밀어 뒤로.
It's confusing.
Yeah, so with the music, maybe it was confusing. So netizens took their jobs as internet sleuths seriously. They were able to find out who the rabbit headband guy was.
How? Like, really? They just found this guy? Like, again, internet, when it wants to, it can be scary, right? Like, they will hunt you down off of the minor amount of information that they can get on you if they really are holding a grudge. So you need to be careful.
They tracked him down online. They start leaving him comments, messages, telling him, you better turn yourself into the police because you are the killer. You're the cause of this tragedy. It looked like they weren't going to stop until he was taken down. The rabbit headband man went on to Instagram to state that he and his friends were being hunted down. And he said, yes, that's me in the rabbit headband in the pictures. But my friends and I had already left Itaewon station when the crowd surge happened. So we were not the ones pushing. Like, maybe there's another guy with a rabbit headband, but it's not me. He posted his subway ticket to show proof. And it showed that he did indeed leave Itaewon station at 9:55 p.m.
Okay, so it's not him.
The police were also able to confirm that he was not in Itaewon at the time of the crowd search, and he wasn't found responsible for the pushing. There were other rumors of a guy that went around pouring oil on the ground so that people would slip and fall.
What? I was like, oil? There's someone just being malicious, just to be malicious.
Those were later proven to be false.
Okay. Like, because again, like, that's just too crazy.
But the witch hunt didn't end there. I mean, I think people were just looking for someone to blame. A lot of angry netizens were looking for just anyone. Even journalists started to blame people. I think they were just looking for provocative stories.
I mean, of course. I mean, you already, as soon as you said the word journalist, like, you should already just clock out, right? Okay. We don't listen to journalists anymore, right? That's normal, right? We just don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about anymore. It's just all for clicks, all for views. All for just like making as much money as possible. Yada yada yada.
They start blaming a very popular live streamer.
Granted, that's nothing new. Modern news has been that way for a few decades now, right?
Looking for provocative stories. So they start blaming a very popular live streamer. Let's call him K. Netizens speculated that K was the reason for the crime.
K, I mean, what? If he's a popular streamer, that means people already know who he is. It's interesting that she's trying to not refer to who he is when clearly the internet knows whoever she is, who she's talking about.
Crowd surge because he streamed that he was in Itaewon and all of his viewers swarmed to see him, causing an influx of the traffic. So they were like, it's his fault for so recklessly telling his viewers that he was in Itaewon. And then he was like, no, I happened to be in Itaewon and I couldn't leave the bar because it was so dangerous. In the same breath, another celebrity was being blamed. Yuain, he lives in Itaewon and everyone speculated that he went out and people started spotting him outside and that's why they flocked to Itaewon.
So he's just blaming a guy for just walking outside and it's all his fault just because he happened to go outside?
In this case, Mr. Yu's agency came out to say that he wasn't even in South Korea at the time of the tragedy. So it genuinely just seemed like people were going out to blame.
I mean, they're just trying to find a boogeyman, right? For something terrible that happens. Like, people need a boogeyman to blame when something bad happens, right? They just can't accept things of how they are. They need a boogeyman.
In one individual, they were just trying to find someone. But that was proving to be very difficult. So briefly, the public, the netizens, the journalists, they start blaming the businesses. They start turning their attention on the businesses. They said, you guys didn't help out with the crowd surge. The businesses in the alleyway could have saved people, prevented the crowd surge. That's what they're saying. Now, a lot of this rumor comes from the fact that a bar, Waikiki Bar, was seen.
Okay. I don't know if we've seen this place in any of the prior videos.
Closing their doors and not letting victims in. But one of the owners and the employees have come out and said, basically in the beginning, when the crowd surge was just happening and people were running in, we didn't know what was going on. We thought they were drunk. We thought they were drunk and like having a blast and like screaming and like running into the, so we closed the doors. I mean, it was strange. But when we realized what was happening in the alleyway, we opened our doors, we let people in, we all started doing CPR. But it didn't matter because netizens were going crazy. They flooded the store owners with really nasty messages.
Also, it's weird to hear the word netizens. I don't know the last time I've heard the word netizens, but it probably has been a long time. Like, who are we still using that word? Is that actually something that's used normally? Because I feel like that's such an archaic word. Not necessarily archaic, but like, we really use that word?
Employees from the Waikiki bar said, "I will never forget the look of the eyes of someone I performed CPR on." He also stated that there was a distinct smell that started coming from the crowd surge, and he'll never forget it. He said, "My heart beats so much that I have to take sedatives every day. No matter how much I drink, I can't fall asleep. I just keep thinking about the look in their eyes." The police even fueled this rumor that it was the business's fault by stating businesses specifically told the police to ease up on police presence this year because these businesses wanted people to party so that they could make more money.
Okay. Well, are we going to believe the police in situations as we are trying to paint them as the bad guys here?
Which personally, what? The business owners would later state, "No, we didn't say that. And even if we did, what are you saying? Like,
Yeah,
you're really just going to listen to us? Like, when?"
Yeah, like what? You're just going to be like, listen to the businesses? When do businesses have superiority over the police? Like, police are not going to listen to you?
Have you guys ever listened to business owners and were like, "You know what? You're right. Let me just not show up"? And side note, the businesses in Itaewon, they're not doing well. Even months after the tragedy, a lot of them are drowning in debt. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, what's going to happen? You assume everything's going to go out of business after what happened. They're just going to have to demolish everything. Like maybe keep the alleyway as like memorial or whatever, but everything else around just gets like destroyed, and nobody goes there anymore except for the alleyway.
Itaewon has kind of become more of a ghost town these days. People said it just feels wrong to go there and have fun. And this is literally a city that was known for its like fun life, like bars, restaurants, shopping, these activities. They said they're all suffering. Some business owners said, "It's been rough. We were hit with COVID. And then when finally things opened up again, now no one comes to Itaewon." And not only that, but we had to live through that night trying to save people and being traumatized. So a lot of these business owners, these employees, they have a lot of trauma from the incident. They're emotionally, mentally scarred, and add to that their financial pressures. A business owner said there's no sales, like none, not even one throughout the day. So it was clear that the businesses were not to blame. So since individuals in attendance, the businesses, they couldn't be blamed, the internet started making it very political. Now, this is very intense.
How are we going to make this political? Like, where is this going to go?
And like this, when you start going into the whole Itaewon story, there's so...
Wait, she was talking about conspiracy theories before, so I don't know if she's going to get to that. There's not much left of the video. It's like, what, 21 minutes left?
many layers to it. I mean, you think it's just first police planning, the city planning isn't good, and then it just gets very crazy. So October 29th, earlier in the day, there were these protests throughout Seoul. A lot of it happening in Yongsan, which is the province that Itaewon is inside of Seoul. Now, there were protests everywhere, and they were like labor unions protesting. They were close to Itaewon. There were reports of 18 different rallies and protests taking place the day of October 29th, and they were big. Like about 30,000 people were out protesting. Now, the right-wing individuals are trying to blame the left wing. So the labor unions, they're typically associated with the left wing, and basically, they said because of these protests, police had to be dispersed throughout the province, and they used up all the manpower, making sure that...
I mean, sure, but no. I'm assuming they would be like, oh, that's not how it actually happened, and they weren't even dealing with the protests. But you can say the protests did limit the manpower. That's acceptable, but it's not the process fault that this happens. So it's a non-issue that the cops were out doing that, because they should have been out doing that. 'Cause it's not like they knew a tragedy was going to happen, right? So it's not like that's not an issue. That's not a reason or an excuse, or that's not your boogeyman. We still have to go back to the cops, though, right? It's still the cops' fault, but the cops having to be called out for the protests is not the boogeyman we're looking for.
That the protests were contained and nobody got hurt during the protests, that they didn't have any more resources for the Halloween weekend. But the left-wing groups fought back for that reasoning, and they said, no, it's dumb to even draw these conclusions. So on the weekends, nobody should protest. And the current president, President Yoon, he's a conservative, and we've talked about him before on the Stephanie Sue channel.
What is that?
President Yoon, he's a conservative, and we've talked about
The First Lady of South Korea's scandalous past. Pringle cheese. What is going on here? Because we have like a mukbang thumbnail here. I'm assuming she's not doing a mukbang, and then this First Lady is doing this mukbang.
him before on the Stephanie Sue channel. He's made some very controversial moves, such as moving out of the Blue House, basically leaving the White House to live somewhere else. And that somewhere else is in Yongsan, which is the province that Itaewon is in. And that's going to suck up a lot of resources, especially with the police department, because there was a set protocol in place when the president was in the Blue House. And now they're adding just a lot more chaos, I guess. It's speculated that 700 police officers were busy commuting to and from the president's new residence. Basically, people on the left were saying because the conservative president unnecessarily moved, the Yongsan police were too busy accommodating his new residence and keeping him safe. They didn't have enough manpower to protect the civilians in Itaewon that weekend.
Okay, so I know it was just like the protests were not a factor here, but this, you could argue, is a problem. It's being hypocritical because I'm like, it's kind of like similar situations, but not really. The president's not just living where he's supposed to live in this situation, and then being like, okay, having everyone accommodate him instead is not good. And it just happens to fall on the same day, so that's also the problem. It's just like, it's not the fault because it just happened to line up that way, but it's also the fault because you're wasting manpower for being selfish, so you kind of are to blame. And plus, you're the president, right? We can blame the president all we want. We don't want to blame the people unless the people do dumb stuff. And like protests like this, I mean, I shouldn't even be talking about this with what's going on right now, but like we'll just go over that. But like we can blame I think the president a bit here in this situation. Protests, that was whatever, unless, again, shouldn't be talking about this kind of stuff in the current social climate, unless the protests were bad, like they were doing a lot of bad stuff, then you can put some blame on them. But if they were just doing normal stuff, well, then that's fine. But what the president is doing is slightly bad. It just depends on the level of evil that is being done at the moment. If the protests weren't doing any evil, then it's not their fault. President, what he was doing is slightly evil, so you can blame him a bit, but it's still not the boogeyman. There is no boogeyman to this. This is just something that happened. Well, I mean, other than police, we can maybe say the police were a slight boogeyman, but there is no overarching, you are the boogeyman, I feel like, of this story. It's just something that was a coincidence of things coming together to cause this horrible tragedy.
A lot of people were calling on him to step down, the
Sure.
president, but the conservatives were arguing with them, and the whole thing just got super political. Now, to be fair, Koreans had a lot of other things that they were mad at the government for. The most recent tragedy of the Sewol boat sinking in 2014, 306 people, majority of them students, died when a ferry sank off the southwest coast of the country.
Which this is kind of spoilers, because again, we're going to watch that one next time when we do her channel. But so, again, kind of spoilers.
Government response was really bad. Like, the president was shifting blame. It was just really gross. The government focused on their image rather than prioritizing lives. So as the boat was sinking and in the key moments where lives could have been saved, the government straight up refused help from other countries because they would look bad on them. They tried to downplay the severity of the event. I mean, it was so gross. So a lot of people with that trauma lingering in literally every Korean's minds, a lot of people are like, wait a minute, the government should be the one responsible. Everyone pays taxes in Korea. That's what the police are supposed to do. I mean, it's like that in the US. If there's a big concert in the area, if there's a big game, police have meetings about it. There's a protocol, there's a coordinated strategy. Like these are the departments that are responsible for making sure that everyone is safe, even if it's not like a police event. Like you have a big concert, police are going to be involved. And it's not just like this secretly planned event. Someone said, I mean, everyone knew what was going to happen in Itaewon. Like people were going to party. Someone said the government is responsible for such organized events. They should have planned ahead. They should have sent out enough police. They should have evacuated people accordingly. They should have controlled the crowds. I mean,
it sounded like there was no police whatsoever, so they didn't do anything.
Even the signs were so clear. Like, even as the night progressed, you didn't have to be in Itaewon to know that it was getting overcrowded. Even the subway stations were jam-packed. Everyone was swarming to Itaewon Station, and basically they would all travel to that tight alleyway to get to their destinations. The government response was just really bad. The Korean Premier Minister Han Duck-soo was doing an international press conference about the incident, and due to technical issues, he couldn't hear the translator properly, like asking a question. So he smiles and he said, "Who's responsible for me not hearing the interpreter?" It's just really distasteful. Like his attitude, his energy, it was very, what are you doing? A lot of netizens wrote, "I can't believe what I just heard. Like, is he being sarcastic right now? Like, this is crazy. Is this a time or place to be cracking these cute little jokes? Like, how can you even smile and laugh in this situation?" The next day he apologized. But it gets worse. Do you remember the 16-year-old high schooler in the beginning of the episode who took his
Okay, I was going to say, she's talking about him. So how is he going to loop around to this minister here?
He lost his friends in the deadly tragedy. Well, the premier minister basically told the press that that victim should have been more committed to getting mental health treatment.
Okay, well, I mean, he was already like going to like a billion therapists already, right?
He said the basic preventative measure that the government can take is this, but the victims themselves need to want to receive treatment. They need to be persistent. Only then can the government support them. Yeah, well, you can just see how that went over. And finally, with enough pressure, the South Korean government decided to list the high schooler as a victim of the Itaewon tragedy. The government originally did not want to add the 16-year-old who committed suicide into the death toll. The government didn't know, because it gets super technical, but the families of the victims could be able to receive some government assistance when it comes to mental health help and funeral.
Yeah, because they just didn't want to have to fork over money to another family, is why they didn't want to add him originally.
Costs. So I think for the parents, they wanted him to be listed as a victim of the tragedy, not for the money, but because he was. This is why he died. If that incident didn't have happened, he wouldn't have taken his life. It's pretty straightforward. So yes, he is a victim of the Itaewon tragedy. But you can see how the government had incentive to not have him listed. They didn't want to raise the death toll. They most likely didn't want to acknowledge the level of trauma that the incident would cause to the survivors, to everyone. So after the government's response, the president also said his condolences, but it was just very... And again, this has nothing to do with like political parties or who the president is or what he stands for, but I just think in any situation like this, it's just a very lukewarm response. It was very PR. So after the government response...
I mean, it's always just going to be PR, right? Like, they don't actually really care.
Parents of the victims, they weren't happy. One of them said, "This is a PR response. They should show us that they're working hard to prevent things like this from ever happening again. Like, we need to know what's being implemented so it doesn't take place." Another victim's mother was so angry, she tore up the condolence wreaths that were gifted to her by the president and the mayor of Seoul. She said, "The government failed to protect the children. Flowers are useless." Do you remember Yejin? She dressed up as Princess Jasmine in the beginning of the story. Her dad visits her every day. She was his only child. She was his whole life. And he said in another interview, "Children who lose their parents are orphans. But there is no word for parents who lose their children. But I think I found one. Sinner. I feel so guilty for losing her." And he's mad. He's angry. He said the government is trying to give them money for funeral costs, which the funeral costs were said to have been about $11,000 a victim, and medical help, I think $7,000 in medical help for the survivors. And he said, "We can live without the money. We can't live without our daughter." This is not the way to help us right now. This is not how you help the grieving parents and families. They're not taking accountability. They're just all shifting the blame to everybody else. And as a parent, it fuels me with rage. He said, if we get a proper apology and see those responsible punished, it would reduce my anger maybe 1/10 of a thousandth, but at least a little bit.
I mean, it's always going to be the Spider-Man meme in these situations, right, where everyone's pointing at each other and no one wants to take the blame. Look at are we going to get any like resolution with the cops though? Are we going to get like more into that of what actually really happens with them and why it was like this?
알라딘에 나오는 자스민 공주 옷을 배워왔더라고요. 그걸 입고서 내 앞에서 패션쇼를 하면서 다 큰 지지가이가 패션쇼 하면서 아빠 나 이쁘지 이쁘지 하면서 아니 깨방정을 떠오르는데 자기네 잘못을 인정하기는커녕 다른 사람한테 책임을 전가하고 책임을 회피하고 이런 작태를 보면 분노가 치밀어 올라요.
All the families want is a government apology, an honest investigation into how things happened. Many of the parents agree that this is murder. Murder by lack of organization, murder by omission. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, they anticipated many people were going to be there for Halloween. They had a meeting. The government had a meeting about how it was estimated that 100,000 people were going to gather in Itaewon.
Okay, so they actually did have a meeting for this and still let it get out of hand like this.
And they didn't prepare for it. A parent shook their head and said, I don't understand that. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Many of the parents were also saddened by the public reaction. One said, did the kids all go to heaven simply because they went out to have a good time? I don't think that's right. Because a lot of people make it seem like these kids wanted to have fun, so they had to pay the price. But that's not what happened here. Another person weighed in. The government always talks about how they can't prevent an accident like this from happening, but now they need to come up with practical measures to make sure it never happens again. The parents are angry, and I think another good place for that anger is with the police and the police chief of the Yongsan department, because what the hell is going on with the police?
Okay, so finally we're going to get into the police, because again, like, we've been building up to this the entire story. What was going on with them?
It said that the police initially planned for 200 police officers to be at Itaewon for Halloween.
Okay, 200. Didn't seem like there was a single one there, other than that one guy who was off, not necessarily off duty, but not necessarily supposed to be there, but just happened to see that something was going on and ran over there to help.
But that night, only 137 officers were on duty in the area, which
On duty in the area, which, what does that mean?
even 200 doesn't sound like a lot, because the words Halloween and Itaewon were trending on so many different social media platforms. YouTubers, streamers, they were all telling their viewers that they were going to be in Itaewon. A lot of people were drawing attention to Itaewon's Halloween festivities. It wasn't like this, oh my god, I'm so shocked so many people showed up. There were so many phone calls made to the police alerting them of the dangerous situation unfolding. It said that from 6 to 8 p.m., 28 reports were made about the overcrowding situation. From 8 to 10 p.m., 51 reports were made. And right before the accident, another 79 reports were made. And during all these reports that came before the incident, this is not even including during the incident when people were collapsing, only 4 police officers were actually dispatched to the scene. And I don't know if they did anything. Like, maybe they told their superiors that something bad was happening and the superiors didn't care. I don't know. Maybe they didn't think
Okay, so we don't have information on what happened with those 4 guys.
anything was happening. And the first reports came in 4 hours before the actual tragedy. One survivor said, it would have been nice if there were policemen trying to maintain order, but there was not a single police officer in the beginning that I saw. And once the accident happened, it was hard for them to enter the scene and help. So after the tragedy, there was an investigation into the police, and an official said, oh, those reports coming in, they were just general reports about inconveniences that residents
They just blew it off.
had. So police chief of the Yongsan Police Department, Lee Im-jae, he was investigated. And wow. Okay, so the day
Wow. What are we gonna find out here?
of The incident, when the reports of the dangerous conditions were coming in, the police chief decides that he's going to end up going back to the police station. But instead of walking there, which would have been a 10-minute walk, he decides he's going to drive to the police station. And it would take him nearly an hour to drive to the police station in critical moments.
Wait, hold on. What is going on? It take him 10 minutes to walk up, but he drove, and so it took him an hour? What? Let's roll this back. What is going on?
Inconveniences that residents had. So police chief of the Yongsan Police Department, Lee Im-jae, he was investigated. And wow. Okay, so the day of the incident, when the reports of the dangerous conditions were coming in, the police chief decides that he's going to end up going back to the police station. But instead of walking there, which would have been a 10-minute walk, he decides...
Okay, so this was the day of the incident. Reports were coming in. And instead of walking to the station, which was only a 10-minute walk away, he decided to drive, which took him over an hour.
Decides he's going to drive to the police station, and it would take him nearly an hour to drive to the police
An
station
hour.
in critical moments because he didn't want to walk. Then when he gets to the station, he goes up onto the rooftop to check it out.
Isn't driving for an hour more exhausting than walking for 10 minutes? I don't know. I mean, I feel like people like to complain about driving being kind of like exhausting. So I feel like driving for an hour over just walking for about 10 minutes, I don't know, man.
Then when he gets to the station, he goes up onto the rooftop to check it out. He's thinking that maybe he can see the alleyway from the police station rooftop. But imagine, people are in danger, and you're like, let me walk up to the roof to see what's going on.
Okay, so wherever he was, he's like, okay, let me take an hour to drive to the station, even though it's 10 minutes. I feel like 10 minutes, like, that's not that far. If you can walk there in 10 minutes, like, driving just seems so stupid. It's like, it's so dumb, it doesn't seem real. So let me waste an hour driving to the station. Then, instead of going to the area to figure out what's going on in person, let me climb to the top of this building. So take the time to walk to the top of this building, which, I mean, if you're going to walk to the top of a building, going upstairs is harder than walking in a straight line. But yeah, let me climb to the top of this building and look to see if I can see this area from this building. Okay.
Additionally, he tried to hide what his schedule was like the day of the incident, but reporters were able to piece it together. And also, side note, the president of South Korea called this man personally, and he didn't pick up. So let me walk you through that day that he really didn't want you to know about. He claimed he arrived at the scene at 10:17 p.m. and he took charge immediately in saving lives. But instead, what really happened was he was overseeing a rally, a protest that was happening near the president's office in Yongsan. That ended around 8:30 p.m. He went to a local restaurant nearby for dinner with other officers at 9:24 p.m. He received the first really bad reports about the crowd situation, so other subordinates at the police station disregarded all the other prior phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
At 9:30, they were like, maybe we should tell the chief.
Wow.
So he gets to the restaurant 9:24. At 9:30, he gets it. What do you think he would do?
He could.
I mean, he's just going to keep eating, right? And wait until he's done with his meal and then go check it out. But I'm assuming what he should do is just like stop everything, go figure out what's going on. But what we're probably going to be told is he finishes his meal and then takes an hour to drive to the station.
Continues his dinner.
He continues his dinner. He ate seolleongtang leisurely for about 20 minutes. He goes to his car at 9:47 p.m. and he drives to the police station to respond to this. Now, this is what's insane. From that seolleongtang restaurant to the police station would take him 10 minutes to walk.
It's hard to see what we're doing here, but I'm going to assume... Oh, this is in Japanese for some reason. Right? Why is this in Japanese? I'm just pausing to see if I can see. 'Cause I don't know what this is saying. It's Noku Sai Byon or something. I don't know what this is saying, but I'm guessing this is the... Maybe this is a restaurant. Noku Saibin? Maybe that's the restaurant. Because I'm assuming this is a restaurant. So he's here, then took the car like this to the station instead of just walking here. I'm guessing that's what how we're supposed to read this. They could have walked here to the station, question mark, but instead, I guess there's no easy direct way to the station from here, so he had to take this path like that. Question mark. It says 55 minutes. I can read that. 55 minutes here. So I'm guessing that's how long it took him. And this must be the walk. Oh, I guess we have different paths that could have been taken. Like this is we have 55 minutes. We have 10, 15, 9, 57, 11, and 5. And it says 10 minutes up here. So it's saying like 10 minutes is all it would have taken, roughly, I think, for him to get to there.
He chose to sit in traffic for an hour because he wanted to drive. He got to the police station at 10:55 p.m. It took him an hour to go half a mile. It could have been a 10-minute walk. And then
Half a mile? Oof. What is this?
he's seen on CCTV walking from his car to the police station, and if you see him walking, he has his hands behind his back.
I noticed that.
As if he's leisurely strolling around while people are dying.
Is he not behind bars?
Oh, he is now, yeah.
Okay, spoilers, but we kind of already knew that. 'Cause she said a bunch of cops got arrested for this, so.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's his urgency level. He gets to the police station, goes to the roof to check out the situation. Later, he tried to lie to Parliament and said that he requested additional safety task forces for Halloween, but he was rejected twice. He said he requested, they kept saying no, so he had to make do with the amount of officers that he had. This was a complete lie. He never requested extra security forces. Actually, a police officer for the Yongsan Police Department reported that he told superiors that they need to look into crowd safety and deploy officers for Halloween weekend. But his superiors told him, and I quote, "Focus on the large-scale rally near the president's office that night instead." And
Okay, again, they keep going, only caring about the president.
just to expand on that, at the time, 1,100 police officers were near the presidential office in Yongsan.
Wow.
And the same day,
1,100 at the president's house, but there was 130 something, 129? Is it 129, 139 near Itaewon, not at this incident, just in the general area, but not actually there.
4,700 highly trained crowd control officers were near the president's office.
47. It's not just the 7 whatever she said.
Officers were near the told him, and I quote, "Focus on the large-scale rally near the president's office that night instead." And just to expand on that, at the time, 1,100 police officers were near the presidential office in Yongsan.
Wow.
And the same day, 4,700 highly trained crowd control officers were near the president's office.
Almost 5,000 people around that area instead of Itaewon.
They were tasked by the administration to monitor anti-government protesters. None of them were sent to Itaewon. So it left only 137 officers for Itaewon.
Those
And only
137.
137 of them, that's literally nothing. No officers, out of the 137, no officer was in charge of maintaining security and safety. Like, there was no game plan, there was no thought out strategy. These 137 officers didn't even seem to be working in unison to make sure everyone stayed safe.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're just like spread around the area, but they weren't actually doing anything. They were just hanging out. Like, they weren't actually, okay, we have an Itaewon Halloween strategy for today. It's just like it's just any other day. This is just our post for today, and we're just gonna be hanging out here. Nothing's bad's gonna happen. Well, not that they would know anything bad was gonna happen, but it had nothing to even do with Halloween. They were just like sparsely spread around, just to save face, right? To say that you did put people around.
In fact, these officers were told their main focus for the night should be on cracking down on drug usage in Itaewon.
Really? Drug usage? I mean, I guess if you expect people to be doing drugs on Halloween, sure, but like, really?
Chief Lee Im-jae was arrested December 23rd of 2022, so not too long ago. He's still being investigated. 2 other officers were immediately arrested because allegedly they told their subordinates to destroy internal reports about the phone calls that were being made to warn the police about the crowds. And as of January 13th of this year, there have been 23 people that were indicted. Half of them are police officers. Most of them are accused of contributing to the death toll through negligence or even trying to destroy official documents that might include criminal evidence. Out of that group, the highest ranking official so far is the chief of the Seoul Metropolitan Police. So Lee Im-jae is just the Yongsan, the province, but the actual Seoul police chief was arrested as well. There's still a lot of questions, though, like why wasn't the subway blocked? That's a huge point of contention. So normally the Korean government will block the subway stations, and typically it's done through the police. The police will tell the metro department to skip a station during big events. So Itaewon was becoming overly crowded, so the first thing that they should do is make sure nobody stops at Itaewon anymore. It just bypasses Itaewon, right? You would think that's the next step, but the subway station wasn't blocked, which we know is super important because of the location of the Itaewon station with the alleyway and how the tragedy unfolded. So why wasn't it closed? There are 2 sides to this, the police's side and the transportation side.
Okay, do we have anything on the transportation?
Completely different government departments. The police said, oh yeah, we asked the Itaewon station to stop. Like, we asked for this station to be skipped to help disperse the crowd when things started amping up. We even asked if the subways could give people free tickets out of Itaewon. So really help them out, right? So we could control the crowds better.
I'm assuming that didn't actually happen, but who knows?
But our requests were denied twice. The Metro Department...
I don't think the Metro Department has the authority to deny that. The police keep, in this scenario, keep saying they have the, like, all these other places have the authority to deny the requests, which I'm pretty sure that is not the case.
Came out and is like, no, that's not how it happened. That's not true at all. The police were only asking us, how do we make requests for free stops for people? Like free exits for people? It was like a nonchalant question, so we answered it with our usual response of like, this is the official format on how to do it. They weren't even telling them like, this is an emergency. The Metro said that they can't control it on their own, even if passengers were like, you need to like skip this stop. They can't do it because it takes a lot of civilian guidance and movement. So the police need to be at the station guiding people on what to do. Like the train can't just be like, anyway, we're deciding to skip, because then it's going to cause like a surge somewhere else. Like it's a whole thing. Side note, another arrest was made. The chief of the fire department was investigated.
Really? The fire department? I thought it felt like the fire department actually was doing something when they actually were eventually called. What did he do?
His name is Cha Sung-bom. The police stated, okay, they stated that the chief of the fire department, Choi, did not respond properly to the scene, which is rich coming from them. But I guess there was maybe some valid criticism. So the first ambulance at the scene was actually sent from a different province. So they're like, explain yourself. That's what the police are saying. But nobody liked this take. Like, not the netizens, like really nobody. So Fire Chief Choi was there at the site. He was the control tower. He was guiding police officers, the firefighters. He was managing the chaos to the best of his ability. And I'm sure there is a lot of critique out there about maybe it wasn't the best managed, but he did seem to try. The police claimed that the incident was further escalated because the fire chief's poor management of the disaster. It just really seems like they're trying to point fingers, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to get any amount of smoke off of them. Like, just be like, oh yeah, see, it wasn't just us. Also, the fire department. Also, this guy, it's his fault. He's the boogeyman, not us.
Even the prosecutors, basically the DAs, were like, no, like, let the fire chief go. And the firefighters came together to support him. They did not believe that this was the right decision. It felt like the government was using their chief as a scapegoat. Even most netizens and Korean citizens did not agree with this because I do think that there is always a level of distrust with police. But with the firefighters, they were truly acting as first responders.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's no bad blood when it comes to firefighters. Like, I'm not one to have, how would I refer to this? Like, I'm not one to have, like, unadulterated, pure, undistilled Would it be undistilled or distilled? Like, let's go with undistilled. Maybe no, actually, maybe one distill, pure no, I would think it would be undistilled. I don't know. Let's just assume you understand what I'm saying. But like, I don't have unadulterated, pure, undistilled wrath for the police, despite being half black, like I've mentioned before. I'm not on that team. Obviously, there's bad people and there's good people, but I'm sorry, I'm not on team that wants to honestly like kill them on sight if you want to go there. But I think when it comes to firefighters, like firefighters are always possibly seen as like just, right? Or just like the fire department. So I can at least say that like the fire department obviously is like way above the cops as like heroes. Like if we're going to like give people the title hero, it's probably going to be firefighters, and then cops are going to be like way below that just because there's so much hate and wrath for the police. So I don't think anybody would be on board with like throwing the fire department under the bus over the cops. Like the cops are obviously going to be public enemy number one, and in this case they are public enemy number one for real this time in this situation, and it is obviously not the fire department's fault in the slightest. Possibly, I mean they could have some blame, but I think it's just all cops. And you can argue that the president of Korea also had a little bit of blame here as well. I'm not gonna let him slide out of this one from what we heard that he was doing and being just like incompetent. But isn't that just every leader in existence, right? That's just like another Tuesday.
It wasn't even in their plans. Like, they weren't necessarily the most responsible for making sure that the crowd surge didn't even happen in the first place. That falls on the police. Mm-hmm. So they came in afterwards to help. A lot of firefighters spoke up and said, we gave our everything at the scene. And it wasn't enough, but we gave it all. They said that they watched through the body cam footage to learn and to see what they could do better. And one firefighter said, one thing I noticed is that there wasn't a single moment where any of my colleagues, not a single moment where we were walking. And I think that's supposed to call upon the chief of the police for his nonchalant attitude while the tragedy was taking place. And that's where we are. Like, it's crazy that there's no end right now. Like, there's no, okay, guys, and maybe we can all sleep better at night because this is what's being done. Like,
again, I think this was done so close to the actual tragedy happening, so there's like not as much info, because this is 2 years ago, which is near then. So I'm assuming if she did a video on it now, it would be much more up to date, and maybe we actually have some more resolutions on what actually happened to all the cops and whatnot.
Like, that's just where we are.
It's so much more impactful to hear these personal stories because it just sounds like a crazy story, but to hear individually every person how this is impacting them is, I don't know, it just brings so much realness into this.
Kind of what I was saying earlier with how this one's much more rougher than the first one that we did, even though the first one did have this kind of anecdotes, but she's trying to paint you a picture of humanity, I think, in the way she is telling these stories.
And I know a lot of people were focusing on the people,
not just like this as an event or something that happened. Like, you can detach yourself or be desensitized to this kind of stuff, typically, and I think like most people really are at this point. But like, she's, again, like I said, trying to bring the like view of just like individual humanity and like first person perspectives, etc., like a more of a, I can't think of like a good word to really like 100% describe this accurately. I think it's just like she's trying to give you a real like humanity level understanding of what's going on rather than the typical sterilized clinical story that you wouldn't typically hear. Because normally you're going to be hearing stories like very, again, sterilized and clinical. And she's trying to bring you back down to earth. Maybe that's actually a good way to put it. Back down to earth and in the mud, getting like a humane humanity level based story being told to you. That's good. That's what we need. Something like that. I struggle with explaining things because of reasons, but I think that's a good explanation of what's going on here.
So much realness into this.
And I know a lot of people were focusing on the people partying and screaming on the beach and stuff, but just hearing how all these regular civilians, the way that they were trying to save each other, like, yeah. I think the one thing that we should try to remember is the news cycle moves so fast. And I just hope that the parents, the families, like, they get the answers that they deserve. One quote from the parents really stands out to me, which is, "Please serve our kids justice on their way to heaven." And there's a sign that was put up outside. This is a sign that was put up
As
around
kids,
the
we are
cone
so sorry.
everywhere.
Please remember us.
And it says, "Please don't forget about us." About Itaewon. That is it for today's main episode.
How have it been?
This wasn't even supposed to be like a video episode, but I just really wanted you guys to see and hear from the families of the victims. But please stay safe, and I will see you guys on Sunday for the mini.
Okay, so that was the Itaewon Halloween tragedy. And again, like I was saying before early on, this go around of her channel, because it's the second time we've watched her channel. This one was more, like, much more rough than the first one. I forget how I put it earlier. It's harder to watch. That's what it is. It's harder to watch, or at least listen to in certain spots. Like, my jaw actually hurt at one point because yada yada yada. You're a dude. You spend your entire life trying not to cry, which I did not, but and not that it matters either way if I did or not. It did well up though, which obviously caused my jaw to hurt during at one point. So yeah, it was sad enough to make me upset in some of these scenarios. That again, because you're getting this down to earth humanity level, unsanitized, unclinical anecdotes that are being told, as if like you're there, right? So it can make it seem pretty rough or not. But I don't know if she, again, like if she's done the, so we can't see it whenever I do that. I'm assuming you can see when I do that, but you cannot see that much. The next video, the Seoul Ferry tragedy, is right underneath this, like down there, where it would be with the other list of videos. So that's what we probably will be doing next time. I don't know if she has actually done that video in this time frame, or she's going to do this video, because it just says 2 years ago, so I don't know what month or year specifically it was, because this could be lying when it says 2 years. It could be nearly 3, but it won't tell you it's 3 years until it's like actually 3. So if it's like 2 years and 11 months, it would still say 2 years, right? So don't know. So I'm wondering if she gave as much first-person perspectives in that one as she did with this one, because this one's like went like cranked up to 11 with those kind of anecdotes. Yeah, oof. It's still kind of just like, I still don't feel like we have full like understanding of like what the heck the police were doing. It still doesn't, it feels like empty with what was going on there. Like it's just like, sure, like the captain was just like goofing around, not taking it seriously. They weren't taking it seriously. The president of the area kind of screwed everybody over, so it kind of was their fault. I'm assuming nothing happened to them. I don't think she really said anything crazy happened to him. But yeah, like I think there is like a lot of the president being a part of what happened here. The police not doing anything really screwing up. I don't know. Yeah, it's just, again, this one was like pretty rough, even compared to the Death Mall one. Yeah, oof. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Like I was saying earlier at the beginning, we do have Nexpo and maybe even Believe It on Jorge as other options. I don't know what I'm going to be watching tomorrow. If it's going to be The Void, maybe tomorrow will be Void plus. I keep saying this. I don't know if I'm ever going to do it. It's just like I don't feel like I'm uploading enough videos, even though I'm uploading 4 videos a day. Like it should be 9, in my opinion, but like I don't have 9 things to think about uploading. I should be streaming on top of this. Like I need to upload like 9 videos a day. I need to be streaming on top of that. It's just not enough. It's been a while since I've streamed. I need to be making models, but I can't make VTuber models and record all these videos. So it's just like, oof. I'm just, this is nothing I can do about that. Like, we'll see. But yeah, we might have Nexpo or Jorge combined with The Void tomorrow. And then if I do end up doing 2 videos a day, maybe I'll just start doing 2 videos constantly every day. Even though, again, like something like this video is an hour and a half. Like her video is an hour and a half, and this video is 2.5 hours. So I've talked for another hour on top of her video itself. So whenever we end up doing her videos, we're going to be for a while. The only like silver lining to that is just like her videos are hard to talk over. Like I kind of just let the video play for a while and don't know where to go or what to say. A lot of the times with these kind of videos, like stuff, all the other videos like Crowley and The Void and I would assume Nexpo as well, Masquerade, it's kind of easy to just be pausing and just like say whatever random nonsense and then keep going. But like with this, I'm just sitting here watching for quite a while. Even if I did add another hour of talking on top of that, I feel like it should be like 3 hours, if not more than that. Because usually my videos are more than double what the original video is. So that I feel like these videos should be like 3.5 videos or 3.5 hours or so, and it's only 2.5. So, and I'm pretty sure I just said so like 1,000 times there. My bad. But because that's what I was always worried about when doing reactions, because I don't really have much emotion to put behind any kind of reaction. So it's kind of rough to do these, and that's what I was always worried about. It's just being here, just sitting here, not saying anything. I mean, at least I can say at least at least an hour's worth of words on top of that. But it's like I don't think it's anything impactful, and unless I actually start rambling for like a few minutes, then sure. But a lot of this is just me chiming in for like a sentence or two and then continuing the video. So yeah, I don't know if that's okay. I said it the last time when I did Rotten Mango. If that's perfectly fine, I don't know if it is or not. For me to just only add about an hour of content on top of this. So, and you can just let me know in the comments. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers, to think about becoming a member, or subscribe if you haven't subscribed. For watch time and subscribers, and we have a throw now as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr and RaleyDrew. Big guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. Do the do. See ya.